Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bruce Crawford. I am the state coordinator for home and public horticulture, and I work for the New Jersey State Experiment Station. And today we're seeing the first ever live Summerfest, and it's a great day for Summerfest. It's interesting. The last day of July is traditionally a rain-free day, and this year has proven to keep the record going. Right now, I'd like to introduce a colleague of mine, Mr. Bill Lubick, who also works with the Experiment Station. And we'll be talking a little bit about our background and what we share in common and some of the things that we do a little bit differently.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
Very well. And yourself?
Very good. Good to be with you here at Summerfest today.
Yes, and I see you're dressed very appropriately for it.
Well, I wore my Summerfest apparel, so.
I love it. I love it. So, and today is definitely short sleeve weather. So, and thank goodness it's not raining too. Otherwise, I wouldn't be outside.
You'd be a little wetter, right?
So, yeah, I think I would be. So I always have always loved, appreciated, enjoyed, and worked with ornamentals, flowering plants, shrubs, and so forth. We both sort of share a background in farming, which I think is interesting. My grandparents and you actually grew up on a farm. What is it exactly that you do with your position?
Well, as an agricultural agent and a professor at Rutgers, I work with farmers. I work with landscapers. I do a lot of solving problems in real time, disease, insect problems, marketing issues. But what I love best is working with people directly, working with undergraduate students, getting a chance to go out and work with plants as you do. And I love trying all the new plants and experimenting with new things that we're putting out at Rutgers and testing how well they're going to do out there in the real world. Always been amazed at how many great scientists we have at Rutgers that are developing a lot of new products with our teams. And you benefit from that because you've got a lot of good work going on out there at the Rutgers Gardens, where you're able to test a lot of the new dogwoods that Tom is developing. And so, yeah, it's a fascinating job. We were dairy farmers as well growing up. And, that's a tough life. And we got into direct marketing and doing more vegetables. And I'm going to be talking about that today, a little bit more about some of the best vegetables for our area.
Yeah, yeah. Yesterday we were talking a little bit about students, and I think that's a passion that we both share. Working with students, both undergraduate and graduate students. I've noticed that, students have always been, on point and really fascinated with it. But in the last 6-7 years, I've noticed the passion has really been growing. Have you been noticing that as well?
Yes, I would say that we have probably some of the best students that I have seen ever in the agriculture and plant science programs and animal science as well, that they are really dedicated, hardworking young men and women. And they really care about other people, and they've got a good work ethic. So when people tell me there's a problem with a generation, I say, no, there isn't. You just got to, there's plenty of really hardworking, great kids, and we have them in our classes, so we know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I love working with students in our programs because they can always, they always rise to that level of wanting to learn and having a real passion about what they're doing in plant science. So
last year was the first year that the class was actually sad that the class was over. And, I remember when I was undergrad, I was like, yoo-hoo, we're done for the semester, we're out of here. But last year they were really upset. It's like, wow, this is the last day. Oh, such a sad day. So I was really touched by that.
Well, it's good to love your job every day. And I've had a lot of students convert over into plant science because they get the bug, as we say. They start to do it. They take some of your classes or some of my classes, and all of a sudden they're hooked and they love plant science and agriculture, and they want to do it the rest of their life. And some of them are very successful doing it. It's not for everybody, but for the people that work hard and work together with us, if they end up in production ag or they end up in research, they really do love it.
Sure. One of the things that I also enjoy doing a lot of is going out. I love teaching master gardeners, and I love teaching garden club and various classes. I know you have a master gardener program, part of Middlesex County. Did you want to talk a little bit about that and other community
Yeah,
outreach that you have?
yeah, thanks, Bruce. We have an active Master Gardener program that we start up this year. It's going to be starting up the 1st of October. We'll probably have an orientation at the end of September. But we get anywhere from 50 to 60 students at a time that sign up. We have a day and evening program in Middlesex. But there are programs throughout the state of New Jersey in each county. And that's part of the New Jersey Ag Experiment Station, Rutgers Cooperative Extension Outreach. And in return for a pretty extensive training module, students then volunteer with our team and do a lot of good works throughout the community to give back. And they're required to do that. So it means that, one or two or three of us teaching the Master Gardener program, then we teach 50, 60 others. Then they can spread the word out to many people within our communities. So it really multiplies our efforts. And we get some extremely dedicated students. We have students in that program that range in age from 18 to 80. They're all over the place, but they're wonderful people to work with.
They really are. No, they really are. Do you have any opportunity to work with 4-H at all, or is that something that you don't personally get involved with?
Well, I do. We have different programs, environmental programs that we cross over, and with those environmental programs, we will do a lot of field days where we have plant ID, and we get students involved in many different aspects of practical environmental stewardship. And the 4-H programs do a lot with leadership training. So I'm involved in some of that, but our agent, Laura Bovitz, really heads that up for Middlesex County. But each county in the state of New Jersey has a 4-H agent, and they do a terrific job working with the youth in our communities. It's nothing short of a miracle, some of the things that I've seen of how they help students develop and, kind of get to the next stage of public speaking and leadership. And it's amazing. And I always recognize the 4-H and FFA students in my classes because they're the true leaders and they're the first ones to start speaking out in class. So,
yep. So, and I always enjoyed working with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, same thing too, because it's fun watching them sort of grow because they come back. Typically they would come back and I work with them each year and you would just watch them grow, which was, I always thought to be a challenge and fun. So
it is kind of nice to, we're seeing students now that want to get away from some of the computer games and really kind of get a lot of hands-on training.
Yep.
I think there's been a resurgence of that. I know there's a lot more people probably going out to your Rutgers Gardens and our Earth Center, and they really enjoy it. They enjoy getting out, especially after being hunkered down with the coronavirus. They really want to get outside. So it's a great opportunity for them to really enjoy each day with their family. And as a group, we've had a lot of people come out, and visit the Earth Center, staying, following all the safety precautions, but really enjoying their time outside.
Sure. Maybe you'd like to talk a little bit more about the Earth Center because I know some people don't know where it is or what you have that's available to the community, and I'm sure they would love to hear about it.
Sure. So our Earth Center is about 10 minutes south of campus in South Brunswick. It's in Davidson Mill Pond Park. And Davidson Mill Pond Park is one of a series of parks throughout Middlesex County. We have a little waterfall out there. We have a place where you can fish if you so desire. It's a 400-acre park, so it's quite a big park. And we have a lot of trails all throughout the park. And we're starting to mark all the native trees throughout the park, and we're establishing native walks out there. So
that's good.
And as well as compost areas where you can learn about composting, learn about other natives that we're propagating. We have quite a bit of research and other projects that are going on out there. We have a herb garden called the Circle of Time. We have a children's garden. Now this year we've been pretty, we haven't been able to open up all that because it's been, this is not the year for all that. But on a typical year when we don't have COVID, all of those gardens will be open. Now you can come out there, but we won't have volunteers to greet you. You'll have to, and the gardens are, what we focused on this year was raising produce for the needy. So we've turned our efforts towards raising food for the needy.
Good. Didn't Didn't you focus on butterflies a few years ago? Didn't you have a butterfly tent at one point?
Yeah, we have a butterfly garden, and that's always a very popular event. We get thousands of people coming out every year. We don't have that running this year, but we'll have it
Okay.
in 21, hopefully, if everything calms down. And
Yep.
I know you have a lot of these activities out at your location too, at Rutgers Gardens.
So yeah, that's one of the things that I'm getting a lot of questions about and inquiries are pollinators. And one of the things which I've actually found interesting this year is that there's a plant called mountain mint, which is typically loaded with pollinators. You'll see everything from wasps to bees to moths to butterflies hovering around it. And this year it's surprisingly quiet, and it started to almost be alarming. So I was wondering if you've noticed this too, that the number of pollinators has become started to decline a little bit, or at least it appears so.
I see it in some areas. Where we have some of our pollinator gardens, we've been expanding that. I was working with George Hamilton years ago, and we developed a list of pollinators. So we've been growing a lot of those plants at our facility. And I agree with you. I think the numbers are down a little bit. But where we've had bronze fennel and a lot of plants like that that tend to attract a wide array of taconid wasp and other beneficials, we're still seeing a pretty good number of beneficials out there, but it's not what it was at one time.
Right.
And I'm not sure if that's an environmental issue going on right now or other factors that are involved in that. We're trying to figure that out actually at this point.
I've been so yesterday I fielded a few questions about one was I put in 10 rhododendrons, 2 of them are dying. Is there something wrong with the soil? And then I said, well, could you send me a picture? And the 2 rhododendrons were side by side. So I said, well, I don't know, is that a low spot, or what? You know, we suddenly have all this rain. There could be a lot of factors. But the other thing which I'm getting an interesting number of emails about is datura popping up, and people want to know, what's this weed? And you know, Jimson weed's one of the common names for it. And, which again, it's not a weed that you want to confuse in your vegetable garden, and oftentimes
no, not at all.
So I tell you, you want to rogue that out of the vegetable garden since it's poisonous. But
yeah, datura is can be a very dangerous plant to have in garden. Yes. So yeah, you know, we talk about that in some of our classes, but I know you offer a lot of great classes. Our team does the same. You know, we offer classes in plant ID, and I think it's important for everybody to learn how to properly identify plants and mushrooms before they start harvesting or growing them, and to know what to rogue out, and to know what native, and because there's plenty of native you don't want, and plenty of invasive plants that you don't want because they can take over. So even though we say native plants are great, and they are, there are some natives that I don't want taking over landscapes, and many.
I like favorites that I like to remove. Yes. So have you been getting any from a fruit or vegetable standpoint? Have you been getting any emails of late that are or with your Thursday evening program that you should talk a little bit about? Have you been getting any commentary of problems?
Yeah, so we have several things. We have a live question and answer on WebEx, and then we have Are You Ready to Garden every Thursday night. Next week, next Thursday at 6:30, it'll be on, and we're going to be answering questions about different types of tree fruit. But if people tune into that, but a lot of the questions we have had so far are questions of maybe environmental injuries, some extremes in temperature and moisture that we're seeing throughout the state. With certain fruit like tomatoes and other fruit, we're seeing some heat damage, some we also occasionally will see that there's a problem with blossom end rot on tomatoes. I've seen more blossom end rot this year, which the blossom end of the tomato turns black, and it's just a lack of proper water and calcium uptake throughout the season. So we have a lot of reports of that. There are quite a few insects as well that are out there. Whenever it's dry, we tend to get a lot more aphids and white flies and plant hoppers attacking. So then we use a myriad of biological controls and other integrated pest management approaches to control them.
The one question I had the other day, which I thought I had the answer, but I which sort of surprised me. One lady said that after that rainstorm, all her Japanese beetles died. And I've never really witnessed the sad is like, do they absorb water or they drown or, have you ever heard of that before?
Well, when Japanese beetles mature, to a certain point, if it's the end of their life cycle, which I would imagine that their life cycle has been expedited by the high temperatures that we've had. It could be a combination of, natural causes, and then also there are certain natural fungi that attack the Japanese beetles and other beetles as well. So when they get to a certain point, their longevity starts to decrease. So then they get to the end of their life cycle, they're going to die out.
Yeah, because she was swearing up and down, oh, it was the rain, they all drowned. And I was like, I don't really think that's possible.
Yeah, well, when you have more moisture, whenever you have more moisture out there, and we've gotten very spotty rainfall throughout the state. So the higher the moisture, typically the more fungal disease problems we have. And then if it's extremely dry, then we tend to have more insect issues that occur in gardens. So there's always insect or disease that's there to attack your garden.
Sure, absolutely. So I know you do a lot of research on varying things. Is there a specific fruit or a vegetable that you would like to talk about that you've been doing research on?
Yeah, we have developed the new Rutgers Scarlet strawberry, which came out in 2015. And we're releasing another strawberry this year, but the Rutgers Scarlet strawberry is a June-bearing strawberry. It's in 48 states throughout the country. Over 7 million, or several million of those plants have been released throughout the country. We've been getting a lot of great feedback from gardeners and farmers that are growing it. Large size, excellent flavor. We did a lot of taste tests with our food science colleagues at Rutgers University, and we've gotten very high ratings for flavor. And we've worked a little bit on some of the new varieties like the basil. Jim Simon did the bulk of work on that, but I know you're growing the Devotion and some of the other great varieties coming out of the New Jersey Ag Experiment Station. And I think it's amazing the colleagues and the scientists that we have at the New Jersey Ag Experiment Station, because you're seeing new tomatoes, new peppers coming out, the Rutgers habanero, pumpkin habanero. You got new basil varieties resistant to downy mildew. So there's a lot of really good things that we're putting out there that specifically help gardeners in our area, in our state, in our region. So
there's a little bit of Devotion right here. So basil. So I bought a bunch of it this year, and I've been growing it at home. And it's a wonderful plant because it doesn't defoliate from the downy mildew. And when you use the leaves and the plant defoliates, it sort of defeats the purpose of having the plant. Right. So this is a plant that you can harvest all season. It's really, really good. So,
well, I love that. We're actually growing quite a bit of that on our family farm, and it's an amazing plant, amazing variety. We have rows and rows of it and doing extremely well. It's probably one of the most aggressive plants and disease-resistant plants that I've seen out there in terms of basil, and it's got great flavor, so you can't beat it.
And I've had your strawberry; it's very good. So, and
well,
I'm
thanks.
looking forward to the new one.
Yeah, the new one will be in catalogs next year, and we will be letting everybody know when it comes out and it's released to everybody. So
yeah, we all have between teaching and out in the field, answering questions. Both of our jobs, each day is different. I do a lot of writing. I write a lot of articles. I like to really focus on what's a great plant. Like right now, there's a rhododendron azalea in bloom called the plum leaf azalea. Bright yellow, bright orange to pink flowers that no one seems to be putting in their landscape, but it's gorgeous. So anyway, I enjoy obviously talking up ornamentals. What is, maybe it's hard to pinpoint, but what's one of the favorite parts of your job?
I think the favorite part of my job is working with people of all ages. I like working with undergraduates, but I like working with farmers because they are very direct and honest working with me. Brutally honest. And I love that because I love brutally honest people. And the students are too, what's the one thing I like about this generation of students, that they really ask good questions. They're very hungry to learn new things, and they get excited when they learn something new. So that's,
Yep.
to me, that gets me excited when I see students of all ages. And when I say students, I don't mean somebody who's necessarily 20. I mean students from 20 to 80.
Yep. We're all students.
We work with people from all ages, as you do. I mean, out in the Rutgers Gardens, you have visitors of all ages out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I know I hear very good things about your plant classes and your plant ID classes, that people really enjoy those classes.
Yesterday I was researching nasturtiums, which, I've always eaten the flower of nasturtiums because I find it to be, a little bit of spice into it, but I didn't know how good it is for you, and it's actually very high in vitamin C. And I also didn't know that you can eat the leaves as well, and the seeds are extremely spicy, and you can grind them up like pepper. And so here was a plant that I sort of grew and always joked about the aphids that grow on it so you can get some protein along with your flower. But then I really started to look at it and say, what a great plant. And I never knew all this, even though I grew it for 30 years. So
Yeah.
every day you're learning something new. And I think that's wonderful.
Well, you do. And I think that's the most interesting thing about our jobs is that, I've been here it's going to be 31 years. And I'm always learning a lot of new things, especially when you're talking with people from so many different backgrounds that are in our field. So constantly learning. No 2 days are ever the same. So if you want a job with variety, our area of study meets that criteria. You're always doing something different, and it's exciting. And I know you're like me. You like to be outside. I mean, I can be behind the computer for so long, and then I got to get outside.
Got it. So every morning, that's one of the interesting things about working from home is that I get up every day at 5. So before I used to leave the house at 5:30 and be on the road. Now I walk down the hall and I find myself at work at 5:45 in the morning. And
Yeah.
but it's it's fun. You can get through the computer, then I can go outside and I can do some close-up photography on plants and put that into articles or whatever have you. So been finding that to be a lot of fun. What do you think? This has been an interesting year because a lot of people have been at home. A lot of people have found gardening or rediscovered gardening because they're at the house. And one of the things I'll be talking about a little bit later are house plants, because there has been a resurgence in house plants, but now all of a sudden people are at home. They're like, gee, room's a little boring. I'm just sitting here. But what would be one of the takeaways from your viewpoint for this year?
Well, I am definitely seeing in my community and with a lot of students that I work with that many people are gardening and doing landscaping for maybe the first time in their lives. Even within my neighborhood, I see a lot of people going out, planting trees, shrubs, starting a vegetable garden for the first time. I had a lot of people contacting me of what kind of vegetable plants to get started with. That really had never had an interest before in gardening, and now they started to do it. They absolutely love it. I think it's like anything else, Bruce. Once you get into something and you learn that you can do it and you can grow plants that you may not be able to get easily at the supermarket or whatever, that you really start to enjoy it. And a lot of plants that you and I and our students grow are very unusual. We try to, for Ag Field Day, you and I have a commonality that we get out every April, last Saturday of April, and we have some great plants on Ag Field Day. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that this year. But as the audience knows, we have a very big Ag Field Day at Rutgers, which is part of Rutgers Day. But I think what I'm seeing is that many more people are interested in gardening in general, and they're willing to go out and plant a shrub or a tree and to start learning about it. And we've seen that on our Are You Ready to Garden series, that we're getting people that when we ask at the end of the night, how many people are here for the first time that have never gardened? There's quite a few people that are, new customers, for us and really getting into this whole gardening situation.
Have you noticed that your gardening series is spanning beyond New Jersey or beyond the immediate county?
Yes, we're getting questions from people and states all throughout the United States, but most of the participants are from New Jersey or New York or Pennsylvania, but that is growing. And we are talking about doing some kind of a podcast with NPR at some point. So hopefully that will grow into that. But it is fun doing it because you get great questions. It really makes you think. You'll get the darndest questions, as you know.
Oh,
So you got to say, where did that question come from?
Yeah, and it could have come from their 4-year-old. You just never know. So sometimes 4-year-olds come up with that. But I think that's my biggest wish for this year, is that a lot of people have found gardening at whatever scale. It could be a container gardening, or it could be, wow, I'm just going to redo the backyard. And you always get a failure. Something always happens, and we sort of enjoy the failures because we push the plant to its peak, and we know that it can't go beyond that. But a lot of gardeners at home don't get that same satisfaction because we've killed more plants than anybody. So we know how to kill a plant. But I think that's my one takeaway, is that people don't get discouraged by a failure or two and go, okay, did something wrong? What was it? How can I correct it? And how can we move forward? So,
well, I agree. You've got to try, and I always recommend that people start with plants that are much easier to work with. And you're going to be talking about that, and so am I. What are some of the varieties that are kind of fail-safe plants that will give you a good feeling so you can start to get a green thumb?
Right.
And then from there, venture out into some of the more complex plants that are out there. And I've always enjoyed going out to the Rutgers Gardens because you guys have such a great variety of plants, and everything's marked so nicely out there that people can learn so much just by visiting the Rutgers Gardens. So, I commend you guys on all the hard work that your entire team does out there. It's just amazing. So,
well, thank you, Bill, and thank you for everything that you've been doing through the experiment station. I know the farmers are really appreciating you, but also obviously all the master gardeners. I meet master gardeners on a daily basis that have taken your program and your courses, and they rave about it. So thank you for everything. This has been fun. I'd say let's do this every Saturday, but there's a lot of other things we should be doing. But hopefully this is something again we can do in a year. So
thanks for having me on, Bruce. And
I'll
see you in a little bit. And I know Bruce has got some other things coming up here. So take care, everybody. See you in a little while.
Thank you, Bill. So anyway, coming up right now, we have a musical band. The name is Power Lines. And so they are going to be doing a couple of renditions of different songs, rock songs, and I hope you enjoy that. Thank you again for being here today.
Hello, Internet! We're a band called Power Lines, and we're really happy to be part of this Hub City Sounds awesome virtual festival. Stick around for some great talks from more agriculturalists, chefs, all from the great Garden State. We're gonna play some tunes! I can't believe how many times I've cried when I saw you. I was saying I was fine would come true when I told time to align my mind would get me through. It's hard to disassociate when that's all I've been able to do. Part of me, I can't explain myself. The numbness so unnatural. Stupidity seems so far off.
Sweet.
That was a song called Moore Street.
There we go.
This next one's called Being is Strange, because isn't it? Why am I suffering? Why are the days longer and the sweat far thicker? Oh, I'm exhausted, and I'm usually complaining about it. I can't understand my aching being. It's so frustrating. It takes a while to get to the light when you're stuck in an abyss of doubt, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm still figuring it out. There's no current plan, just trying to understand how I feel right now. There's nothing in my head that can't be altered. And soon I will know how to get control of this. Like I said, it's all in my head. And it won't last forever, it won't last forever. My aching, my aching, my aching, being is strange. My aching, being is strange. Cool. We have one more song. Thanks again for having us, Hub City Sounds, New Brunswick Cultural Center. We're super glad to be playing live music for people, the internet, whoever's watching this. So thanks for tuning in. This song's called Sober.
Yeah. Cool.
You said be patient, but that's just an old fantasy. 'Cause I tried everything to make you believe that it's always been me, and I know you know me. This journey's been so controlling, and I think the same things over and over. All I know is that I can't get sober on you. everything we've been just crumbling right in front of me. 'Cause I think the same things over and over. All I know is that I can't get sober, 'cause I can't get over you, no, no. Can't get over you. I can't get sober, 'cause I can't get over you. I think the same thing over and over. All that I know is that I can't get sober. There's no way that this could stay the same. In the middle of the night, I want it all to be erased. 'Cause I've been holding it in my dreams every night, and I can't seem to get it out of my head. Think about the time we had extra wine. I know there's no way in time that it could be corrected. No, it can't be corrected. There is a string that's pulling me every time I think that I can breathe. Please don't let me alone. It was you. I think the same thing over and over. All that I know is that I can't get sober. I've been drinking, I've been drinking, I've been drinking. Cool. Thanks so much for having us stick around for the rest of the awesome stuff going on with this festival and Bad Blooms coming up later.
Hello again, everybody. So I'm back. Bruce Crawford from New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station. And with me I have Catalina Mariani. Who is going to do the translation for me. So I speak very, very, very slow. So she'll help me out big time. So one of the challenges we've had this year, and one of the focuses has been on growing our own food. En esta tarde vamos a darles información sobre plantas, vamos a tener una conversación sobre plantas, te voy a estar traduciendo para él en esta tarde. Lo que estoy diciendo es que este año el problema más grande que hemos tenido es desde nosotros hemos tenido que buscar la manera de adelantar nuestros propios alimentos. So one of the focuses has been on growing our own food, and some people look at it and go, gee, I don't have a lot of land. How can I possibly benefit? How can I grow what we have? And so one of the, I think, easy solutions would be grandes que hemos tenido ha sido el cómo plantar, cómo buscar la manera de tener nuestros propios alimentos en casa. Y eso ha sido una gran dificultad, pero estamos aprendiendo cómo podemos hacer para plantar nuestros propios alimentos en casa. Seem to have you have some difficulties. Can you leave and come back again? Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick station identification break and come back in again. I'm going to leave the stream.
So we're going to take a quick walk through the New Brunswick Community Farmers Market so I can show you some of the safety protocols we have in place. We've got a designated entrance and a hand washing and sanitizing station so that when customers first come in, they can wash their hands here. We've got Michelle greeting customers, and we're offering food samples packed to go. So one of people's favorite things at the farmers markets is often trying new things. So today we have a quinoa, kale, and blueberry salad that's packed for customers to take to go for food safety. We've got one-way traffic set up at the market, so you can see lanes designated to help people follow the correct flow. Our SNAP EBT table is here. We've got Lenise holding down the fort, processing EBT cards and doubling the value of SNAP purchases for customers. And then we've got a long line of fresh produce brought to us today from Stillwell Farm, one of our local New Jersey farmers. And Stillwell Farm is accepting, in addition to the SNAP EBT benefits, WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program vouchers, which we also double the value of. We've got
Hello, this is Bruce Crawford. I'm back again. I'm wondering if I'm hoping that our sound is better now and that we are clear and the sound is good. Okay, so we are good to go. So anyway, as I was trying to say before, I understand that the sound was muted or garbled. My name is Bruce Crawford. I am working with the New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station. I work predominantly with ornamentals and with home grounds, but I also work with food a lot. And with me today is Kat.
Carolina Moratti.
And so she'll be helping translate so that everybody can benefit from this as much as possible. Now, one of the challenges that we've had this year is that a lot of people have been looking to grow food from home. And you might say, well, gee, I don't have a backyard or a piece of ground that I can actually grow something in. So the answer would be, can we grow it in containers? And so if we can start up a PowerPoint.
Bueno, lo que vamos a hablar en esta tarde junto con Bruce es el problema que hemos tenido en esta temporada de poder plantar nuestros propios alimentos y a veces nosotros no tenemos jardín. Entonces lo que vamos a conversar el día de hoy es cómo plantar en macetas dentro de nuestras casas. Y él nos va a enseñar y nos va a guiar más o menos qué cosa es lo que tenemos que hacer y qué tipo de plantas son las más convenientes para sembrar en macetas.
So when we look at the growing material in containers, obviously one of the things to focus upon is the container itself, and you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on a very fancy container.
So, la primera cosa que debemos saber y debemos estar pendiente de buscar es el contenedor, la maceta, right? No necesariamente tenemos que ir a la tienda y gastar mucho dinero en una maceta, no es necesario, pero tenemos que buscar una que sea buena, no necesariamente cara, pero buena.
So when you look at this, it can be, you can have a nice clay pot, or you can have an old bucket or anything like that. You say, well, all you need to do is drill some holes in the bottom so that it has good drainage.
So lo que puedes hacer es puedes buscar una que sea de barro, o si no la tienes, no tiene que ser algo muy así, muy caro. Puedes buscar un balde de plástico y lo que tienes que hacer esencialmente es hacerle hoyitos en la parte de abajo del balde y eso va a funcionar perfectamente para que puedas poner tus plantas adentro.
So, and okay, we're starting the pictures. So, and sometimes the containers can actually be a bit of a work of art. So the image that you're looking at here is obviously a rather fancy container, but now the cabbage, the fennel, and then on the left, you see the rosemary hanging over the side. Makes a very attractive combination.
So, algunas veces, como en esta foto, tú puedes observar que las macetas son una pieza de arte. Esta es una de verdad que se ve muy bonita, muy trabajada. Y lo que más importa es las plantas que tú tienes ahí. Puedes ver que ahí tenemos el cabbage, el rosemary y el dill. Y en ellos tú puedes observar de que se ve muy bonita la combinación de colores. Puedes mezclar diferentes tipos de plantas en una sola maceta también para ahorrar espacio.
So, and if we could advance to the next image. So here we had that container I was talking about, and it's filled obviously with lettuce. And there's technically too much lettuce in that container. But what you do is, as you harvest the plant, it allows more room for the lettuce next to it to grow, and you can continue to harvest that from that container from April to the end of June.
So, en la siguiente imagen tú puedes ver de que lo que estaba justamente hablando Bruce es de que no necesitas una maceta muy bonita, simplemente una maceta que sea práctica, y este es un balde que encontraron y le hicieron huecos y puedes ver ahí de que esa está claramente con lechuga, pero no necesariamente tienes que poner tanta lechuga, sino menos cantidad, y lo que va a ayudar a drenar es los huecos que están debajo del balde.
So, and if we can move to next. One thing I should mention about lettuce is that some people think you can harvest it all season long. When you come into early July, that's about the time to end because the lettuce starts to turn bitter and you need to reseed for the fall.
So, las personas piensan que pueden sembrar y cosechar lechuga durante todo el año, pero no es así. What were the months?
This is down at Rutgers Gardens in Wayne, Pennsylvania. They're growing tomatoes. And so you can see the tomatoes get up to about 6 to 8 feet.
Y ahí tú puedes observar de que eso es en un lugar en Pensilvania y puedes observar que los tomates han crecido y pueden crecer hasta 6 pies de alto.
And the key on that is to keep the water every day, so it'll dry out.
Y la clave para que tus tomates crezcan muy bonitos es que tienes que asegurarte de regarlos diariamente.
Here's the nasturtiums that I mentioned earlier when I was talking with Bill Lubick.
fantastic plant, great flowers to add to salads, fish, or meat.
Y esta planta es muy buena para agregarle a las ensaladas, al pescado y a cualquier tipo de carne. Es muy fácil de crecer. It's difficult, it requires a lot, like watering.
It likes a moist soil, but it doesn't have to be a rich soil.
Ok, tienes que ponerle la tierra que sea húmeda, pero es muy fácil de crecer, es muy fácil de crecerla y es muy rica y muy conveniente para las carnes que hemos mencionado anteriormente.
Move to the next image. One of the key things if you're growing vegetables is not to grow the same vegetable in the same container each year.
Una clave muy importante de hacer crecer tus plantas es que no las hagas crecer en el mismo contenedor cada año. Tienes que cambiarlas de contenedor y cambiarlas. Also change the
soil.
The soil.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Y la tierra la tienen que cambiar cada año porque eso va a ayudar a que su planta crezca mucho más saludable.
One of the advantages of growing in a container, of course, is you can change the soil from year to year, but that's a bit of a waste. So it's actually better just to work up the soil, maybe add a little bit more perlite to it, fertilizer, and then just plant a different crop.
Y una de las ventajas de crecer las plantas en macetas es que no necesariamente tienes que cambiar la tierra, sino que las puedes mover, tienes que cambiarlas, moverlas y echarle fertilizante, y eso va a ayudar a que tu planta crezca más saludable y evitar cualquier enfermedad a tu planta.
You can have the next image, please. So here is potting soil on the left that would come right out of a bag. It is sphagnum, peat moss, and perlite. If you're growing herbs, which we'll be talking about in a second, they like a much better drained soil. So if you add additional perlite, that will increase the drainage.
En la izquierda tú puedes ver la tierra que viene así de la tienda, la normal, pero en el lado derecho te puedes observar que es la que tiene mejor drenaje, porque tiene una cosa que se llama perlit, y eso ayuda de que la planta esté más húmeda.
Next image, please. So here's some oregano and rosemary. The nice thing about the rosemary is it'll tend to sort of fall on the ground, sort of collapse a little bit and become a spiller plant, so it makes an attractive container, while the rosemary will grow more upright in the container.
So en esta imagen tú puedes ver que tenemos rosemary y orégano. Puedes mezclar, puedes combinar los diferentes tipos de planta. Tienen diferentes tipos de fragancia, pero pueden estar puestas en un solo contenedor.
When you harvest rosemary or oregano, whatever have you, it's always good to take it. And if you dry it, that's fine. It's good for at least 6 months. But leave the leaves on the stems because it'll actually it'll preserve the flavor.
Cuando ustedes utilicen este tipo de plantas, es mejor que cuando las corten, las dejen secar así de la misma manera en el tallo, como pueden ver, observar en este lado. Es mucho mejor para el sabor que las dejen en el tallo secar.
So in this plant, here we have thyme, which is a great plant, and holding it up here to the.
Y en esta foto ustedes pueden observar que tenemos tomillo, que es una planta muy fraganciosa.
It has a lot of antioxidants in it. It's very mellow, works with a lot of other
Tiene mucho sabor y es muy fácil de combinar. Es muy noble, se puede trabajar con diferentes tipos de comida, el tomillo.
And here we added flowery maple, which is a pollinator plant, and I always want to put in pollinator plants where possible because children love seeing butterflies, hummingbirds, whatever come around. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So, y la siguiente planta se llama planta de maple, que no tiene nada que ver con el árbol de maple, solamente es una planta que trae muchas abejas y a él le gusta mucho plantar esa plantita porque trae muchas abejitas y a los niños les gusta estar mirando las diferentes aves y abejitas que se acercan a ese tipo de planta.
Next image, please. This would be a close-up of the flower of the thyme. And again, thyme, I just want to pick off those small leaves, just cut it, dry it on the stem. Don't eat the stem. Very woody, hard to digest, but the leaves are great.
So, esta planta se llama tomillo de naranja y es muy fragante, tiene un olor muy delicioso, pero no te comas el stem, no te comas porque tiene como sabor a madera. Tienes que asegurarte de que solamente te comas las hojitas. Cuando las hagas secar, solamente sacas y utilizas la hoja, no el tallo. El tallo tiene mucho sabor a madera.
And here's a picture of the flowery maple. Again, just a pretty flower to go with the herbs.
Y ahí está la foto de la flor de maple, que está muy bonita y muy colorida y atrae las abejitas también. Aquí tenemos una.
All right.
Yeah.
Close up on it. And another plant which is great to add is salvia or garden sage. We can move on to the next image.
Y la otra planta que es buena para plantar también es la salvia, porque tiene muchos, es like como antibiótico, antioxidante.
Yep. So,
y es la que usan en las casas envueltitas en unos rollitos para limpiar la casa, ¿no?
it has a lot of health benefits. So if you're looking to grow one herb and you just have one sunny windowsill or a patio or porch and you're looking for something, you might want to consider sage.
La salvia es una de las más recomendadas porque tiene muchos beneficios y es bien fácil de crecer, y si tú no tienes mucho espacio y quieres realmente elegir una sola planta, Bruce te recomienda que uses la salvia porque es muy fácil de crecer, y si tienes un porche, si tienes una ventana con mucha luz, es ideal para crecer la salvia.
Next image. And we talked about this with Bill Lubick, but here we have basil. Great to add to sauces, to spaghetti, to what have you. Great fragrance. Add it late in the cooking because you don't want to cook out all the oils. You want to use this and use it fresh. So grow the plant and use it right off the plant.
So exciting. En esta imagen tenemos la albahaca, que es una planta que yo puedo decir que es una de las preferidas de Bruce, porque es muy rica, muy deliciosa, que la puedes utilizar en pasta, en salsas, la puedes utilizar de muchas maneras, y lo que está recomendando Bruce es que la utilices casi al final de lo que estás cocinando, porque quieres utilizar los aceites esenciales, aprovechar todo ese poder nutritivo que tiene esta planta, así que acuérdate siempre de utilizar la albahaca, que es muy deliciosa y muy nutritiva.
And one thing that, if you've had a stressful day, there's nothing like coming home, get a leaf of basil or rosemary, just smelling it, just makes you feel more calm and mellow. A great way to sort of calm down.
Y otra recomendación de Bruce es de que si tú has tenido un día muy estresante, es muy bueno que utilices una planta de romero o una planta de albahaca y solamente la pongas enfrente de tu nariz y la huelas, y te va a ayudar a relajarte, a ponerte más tranquilo, te va a ayudar a sentirte mucho mejor, porque ese olor es muy, muy bueno para eso, para el estrés.
Next image, please. So here we're back at Chanticleer, and this obviously is August of 3 years ago. But everything you're looking at here is an herb. There's a fig tree on the left. There's myrtle on the right.
En esta imagen tú puedes observar diferentes tipos de plantas. Incluso puedes observar que en el lado izquierdo hay un árbol que no es real, pero lo demás es muy, muy real, y son plantas muy, muy nutritivas y muy importantes.
But what I find fascinating here is that you don't think of this as an herb garden. It just looks ornamental and pretty.
Exacto. Lo que le fascina a él en esta foto es de que realmente tú puedes ver que se ve muy decorativo, muy bonito, sin saber de que todo lo que está ahí son plantas medicinales, plantas que se pueden comer, plantas que se pueden aprovechar. Y se ve hermoso realmente en la foto.
And one little detail that they have here, which you don't have to do, but you notice that their pots are up on little feet, and you can buy these little clay feet in most garden centers and box stores. But they, by raising the pot, it allows the water to drain out better.
So, lo que ustedes pueden observar también en esta foto, no necesariamente tú lo tienes que hacer, pero también es muy bueno para drenar la planta, es que hay como unos pequeños piecitos o como unas pequeñas piezas de madera que están debajo de la maceta, y eso ayuda a drenar mejor la planta, lo cual permite que la planta crezca mucho mejor y más saludable.
So we've been dealing with full sun plants. Now let's go to plants that like a little bit more shade. And these are your house plants.
So hemos terminado con las plantas que requieren mucha, mucha luz. Ahora vamos a ir con las plantas que no requieren tanta luz.
And something that, I'm guilty of the same thing. I go to a garden center, I'm looking at the containers. I saw the pot in the middle here, and I was like, oh, look at that. That's a nice looking container. I bought it, brought it home, and then suddenly went, wait a minute, that's the worst pot I could have picked for a houseplant.
Ok, so lo que está diciendo Bruce es de que él también es culpable de esto. Va a las tiendas de plantas y ve una maceta preciosa y dice, ay, qué bonita, yo me la voy a comprar. Y luego cuando llega a casa se da cuenta y dice, ay, esta es la peor maceta que yo pude haber elegido para ponerla dentro de casa.
You notice that the plant bulges in the middle. And so that prevents you from pulling the plant out of the container.
Oh.
And so
como pueden ver en esta foto de la maceta blanca, está como redonda, como redondeada en el costado, y eso no te ayuda para poder sacar la planta de la raíz completamente entera. No es conveniente tener ese tipo de macetas en casa.
So you either have to break the container, which is not a good option.
Claro.
Or you have to cut up the plant, which is not a good option.
Lo que tienes que hacer en este caso sería romper la maceta para poder sacar la planta completa o tienes que cortar la planta, que en ninguno de los casos es ideal.
So you have to use the containers that are either side. They're flared, so they're broader at the top, narrower at the bottom. It allows you to take the plant out easier.
So, lo que tú tienes que hacer es utilizar las macetas que son pequeñas en la parte de abajo y más amplias en la parte de arriba, o que son de forma completa, una de las dos, pero no las otras que son así gorditas y luego angostas en la parte de arriba.
Next image, please. So, so here, and again, plants can live for 2 years in a container, or they can last for 10 years in a container. It really is based on the plant.
So, las plantas en promedio pueden vivir entre 2 años y 10 años en una maceta, pero eso depende mucho. Podemos ver la planta de jade y la planta de cebra.
So jade plant and zebra plant are two very slow growing plants, but they are well adapted to indoor conditions.
So, estas plantas crecen demasiado lento, crecen bien lento, pero se adaptan muy bien a estar adentro, estar en indoor. Se adaptan muy bien.
And one of the many benefits that houseplants have is that they're going to lower your blood pressure. If you're stressed, it's nice to have a houseplant right next to where you're working so that you can sort of touch it and feel a little bit. It soothes you and calms you down.
So, una cosa muy importante de tener plantas dentro de casa es que te va a calmar, te va a ayudar con el estrés. Si tú estás teniendo mucho estrés en el trabajo, pon una plantita al lado de tu lugar de trabajo y tócala, y te va a ayudar a relajarte, a sentirte mucho mejor.
And so when you look at this container here, you would say, well, how old is that? Well, it's actually been up-potted 3 times. So, so it's about 16 years old.
Wow. So, en esta foto ustedes pueden ver, esta planta tiene 16 años de edad y la han replantado y movido 3 veces.
And if you'll also notice, the jade plant, which is the taller of the two, is planted towards the back of the pot. So it was put in when it was a very small plant. And then the zebra plant was put in the front, again, as a very small plant. And as you increase the size of the containers every couple of years, obviously the plants grew and they filled it out.
So, lo que Bruce ha hecho en esta foto es que cuando empezó la plantita de jade, que es la más alta, esa fue la primera que él puso. ¿Y por qué razón la va cambiando de maceta? Es porque van creciendo. Y primero puso la planta de jade a lo que va creciendo, y la planta cebra que está adelante fue la que puso después. Y conforme van creciendo, él las va cambiando de maceta.
And one of the other things, and actually this was found out by NASA, is that when they were doing studies for the space shuttle, they found out that the houseplants actually reduce the volatile chemicals inside a room, so that they actually clean the air.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, esto ha sido declarado por la NASA, de que en una investigación que ellos han hecho, y se han dado cuenta de que las plantas reducen la cantidad de químicos malos dentro de una habitación cerrada, lo cual significa que las plantas limpian el aire en las habitaciones cerradas.
So, and the other thing which is interesting about the jade plant is that it releases oxygen at night. So just because it grows in a very dry environment. So it's great to add to a plant, to a room, excuse me, like a living room or a bedroom where you spend a lot of evening hours.
That's good information, Bruce. Thank you so much. So, la planta de jade, como está acostumbrada a crecer en un ambiente seco, ella saca el oxígeno durante la noche. So, es muy conveniente y muy saludable tener una planta de jade en tu sala o en tu habitación, porque va a limpiar el oxígeno de esa habitación cerrada.
And next image, please. Which also happens to be our last image. So this is air plants. And so people are fascinated by this plant because it doesn't technically have roots. The roots attach it to trees, poles, shrubs, whatever. So it's a unique plant.
So that's definitely an outdoor one.
This is an indoor plant.
Really?
Yeah.
So it attaches to.
So you can put it onto bark, but if you just put it in a pot, a glass bowl, or a wine glass or something like that, and take it out and put it under a faucet once a week. Just give it a good soaking and put it back. That's what it needs.
That's fascinating. I'm learning so much today.
Good.
So, esta planta se llama Tilandia. Y lo fascinante de esta planta, yo pensé que era una planta de outdoor porque él dice que es una planta de aire, Pero lo que estoy aprendiendo el día de hoy con Bruce es de que esta planta solamente una vez a la semana tú la puedes tener en un vaso de vino, en una copa de vino, en un vaso transparente, en un envase y solamente sacarla una vez a la semana, ponerla debajo del agua, mojarla y mantenerla así. Y se ven hermosas. Eso es lo fascinante de esta planta, que se puede adherir a cualquier cosa y crecer muy bien con solamente agua una vez por semana. That's fascinating.
Oh yeah, and that's the flower. So the flower is gorgeous. So if you can grow it in a container, a bowl, or something like that, which raises the humidity, it's more inclined to flower. If you just have it growing on a desk without the container to hold raise the humidity, you're probably not going to get.
So, para que tú puedas obtener la flor que se ve tan preciosa, tan colorida en la foto, es mantenerla, como dije al principio, en un envase que mantenga la humedad. Puede ser como like a fishbowl,
Exactly.
Como un envase de los que se ponen los pescaditos o un envase de vidrio que ayude a mantener la humedad. Vas a conseguir que esa planta te dé esa flor tan bonita. That's fascinating.
Oh, cool. So, so obviously this is just a short look at a lot of different plants, but hopefully it'll bring to you the sort of a little bit of imagination of what's out there. Oftentimes we think you go to certain garden centers or certain box stores and you see something, but you don't realize all the plants that are really out there, right?
So, la información que estamos compartiendo ahora va a estar puesta aquí debajo después de la información, después de que terminemos con el video. Y lo más importante que Bruce está tratando de enseñarnos con esta clase es de que cuando vayamos a la tienda vamos a tener la oportunidad de saber cómo se ven las plantas.
And thank you all for watching. Thank you for translating. This is awesome.
Thank you so much for having me today. It was really, really amazing to be able to learn more of plants. I know you're a master on this, and now I can see it. So thank you. Muchas gracias por tenerme el día de hoy. Hemos aprendido mucho sobre las plantas. Compartan esta información, es clave. Y vamos a estar compartiendo toda la información después de terminar el stream. Thank you so much for having me today again.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias por conectarse.
And next up is Bill Lubick, and so I was talking about growing plants in smaller containers. He'll be talking about growing edibles in larger areas.
Hey, everybody. That was great information, Bruce. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk to you about some plants that you can grow in small spaces in your garden. And if we could bring our slides up, take a look at some of the plants that we're going to talk about today. But my name is Bill Lubick, and I'm with Rutgers Cooperative Extension. We met before earlier today. And we're going to talk about growing the best vegetables in the little bit of space that you have. And we go to the next slide. And when we do taste tests throughout the state, one of the things that we've realized is that we have many varieties of plants, vegetables that will do better under different soil conditions. So we recommend that you try different varieties to see what's adapted to your area. Incorporating more vegetables and herbs into your diet, as Bruce was talking about earlier, is extremely important because vegetables have very positive attributes with the different chemicals and properties in those vegetables to keep you healthy and provide a lot of beneficial compounds that can provide anti-cancer benefits. But the best thing is they taste great. And they'll help you stay on your diet and lose weight. But vegetables will have different flavors depending on the type of soils that you grow them in. So it's important that we individually try different vegetables to see what works in our garden. Next slide. So it's easy to start a vegetable garden, as Bruce talked about. You know, you could start plants inside the house, and if you're growing tomatoes and peppers and those type of plants, you want to make sure that we're tapping on the plant occasionally or putting a fan on the plant to create movement so they get adequate pollination. With lettuce and greens, we don't have to worry about that. But with other types of plants that we're growing indoors, we have to make sure that we're encouraging adequate pollination. And with this, many of the self-pollinators, like many of our new tomato, vegetable, eggplant varieties, that can be done easily by encouraging movement and within that plant. And it doesn't take much space. So we can take whatever limited space we have, take a pH or soil test, and then move on from there. Add organic matter from our compost. Hopefully all of us are composting. And if you need any information, more detailed information on that, make sure you contact us at Rutgers Cooperative Extension within each county, and we'll give you information on how to compost correctly. Next slide. And it's easy to get creative with the containers that you have. You know, use whatever's available to you to grow vegetable plants. You can start seedlings on your own. You can join our Master Gardener programs that are in each county throughout the state to learn a lot more about growing many different vegetables. But as Bruce showed, vegetable gardening can be extremely beautiful. I mean, you can grow nasturtiums, you can grow many different types of vegetables, even larger vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant, and cucumbers in containers. So just, you know, even if you can get a hold of 5-gallon containers, let's go to the next slide and we'll show you. So you can take 2 5-gallon buckets. Just make sure that you rinse any residual that's out of those 5-gallon buckets. And as you see here, we used a PVC and a pot, and then put holes in the top container of the 5-gallon bucket by drilling holes in that. And we can create a very low cost system for growing many of these large plants that we're talking about. So you can grow almost any of the plants that we want to grow in a garden and make sure that they have full sun. Many of our sun-loving plants, like in the solanaceous family, cucurbitaceated cucurbits, like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and cucumbers, and squash, they will grow fine in these 5-gallon containers. We just have to make sure that we provide adequate moisture throughout the week. And if we develop these self-watering containers, and we have a fact sheet online that you can learn more about how to do this. But this is basically the strategy right here you see in front of you, that you can develop a very low-cost container to easily grow vegetables in your garden. Next slide. And soil testing is extremely important. So soil testing is where we're going to actually determine the pH or soil acidity. And by doing that, we can determine whether those plants can adequately take up nutrients and whether or not they are going to respond to those nutrients and give you adequate production in that small garden space that you have. So soil pH test is very important. You can contact us in Extension to learn more about that. Next slide. So low tunnels are extremely important. Low tunnels can help us protect plants early in the season and also late in the season from frost. But we can also use landscape fabrics over plants. And these landscape fabrics can actually deter and prevent insects from landing on the plants, like if we're growing lettuce or kale or any type of greens, like spinach, can keep those insects off so that we can actually reduce or totally eliminate any insecticides that we're using on our plants. And many of our organic growers that are very successful at doing this, they just make sure that the sides of those fabrics are down in the soil so that insects can't get into those areas, and we can produce a disease and weed-free area and have a nice healthy crop. Next slide. Next slide. So we can also set up small tunnels that are next to heated structures. And this one is pretty creative because what they did was they had this next to a window of the house so that if they needed to blow warmer air in there, if it got cool in the beginning or the late in the season, they were able to do that. And you can see here that they used PVC tubing so that they had a very low cost way of creating a protective structure for those plants. So if you want to learn more about that, jump onto our site on Rutgers Cooperative Extension, and we'll provide some plans on how to do that. Next slide. So selecting tomato varieties, for each person, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to look for varieties that we like because of their flavor, that are adapted to our specific site conditions of our garden with the different soils. And these varieties will have different yields and different levels of disease resistance. What we find is that if we use tomato and pepper and eggplant and other varieties that are hybrid tomatoes, they will have hybrid vigor, and they will provide a greater level of resistance to disease and insect problems for our garden. So as a beginner gardener, it may be a very good idea to start out with hybrid varieties. They have that disease resistance built in. So let's take a look at some of those varieties. Next slide. So one variety, it's an older variety, but oldie but a goodie. The old Rutgers varieties, and there's the new Rutgers 250. I'm going to give those a try. You know, they were popular back in the time, and they really helped us to Rutgers had a huge impact on the tomato industry throughout the entire world with the introduction of the Rutgers tomato. It was a very important canning tomato at the time. Canning tomatoes now are quite different, but you might want to give this a try. And if you visit Bruce and myself out at Rutgers Day and Ag Field Day next April, we'll have a lot of these varieties available. So hopefully we'll be able to have Ag Field Day next year, and you can get a hold of some of these Rutgers tomatoes that are 70, 80 days. And they're a great tomato to start out with. Next slide. Bush Goliath is wonderful if you have a small space and you're looking for a tomato that's very productive in a small container. You're going to get 3 to 4 inch fruits, and it's got great resistance. It's a great slicing tomato and will give you excellent flavor if you have small containers. So this is a great option for many of you that want to get into food production for the first time. And now is the time. You know, we're finding that more people are excited about gardening than ever before. They want to grow their own vegetables, get their sons and daughters and entire family involved in this. And this is a good variety to start out with. Next slide. Early Girl is going to give you some of the best results with an early tomato because, you know, in as little as 50 days, you can actually have these 5 to 6 ounce tomatoes that'll start to appear in plants, and they have wonderful flavor. And you should get red color all the way through as long as you're providing them with equal moisture throughout the season, and you have a good mix in your grow mix that Bruce had talked about earlier. Next slide. Celebrity is one of my favorite tomatoes. It always comes out on the top of our taste test. And that's because a lot of research and genetics went into this, producing this tomato. In as little as 70 days, you get an 8 ounce fruit that is just out of this world with good flavor. And in many of the taste tests we've done in South and Mid and North Jersey, this is one of our very best tomatoes. So you might want to give it a try in your garden next year. It's extremely productive. It has disease resistance, and it grows in containers. Next slide. Ramapo is another great tomato that was developed right at Rutgers University. I remember this being extremely popular for farmers as well. And this is a favorite of farmers, especially some of the middle-aged, let's say middle-aged farmers that I worked with over the years. Nice fruit, 6.2 ounces average. Yield is moderate to good. High end of marketability, so you get fruit with less cracking in it. And it's just a wonderful tomato. So you'll see that also available on Ag Field Day. A great tasting tomato. Next slide. Mortgage lifter, if you're going to grow an heirloom and you want to save the seeds of a plant, this is one of the highest rated tomatoes that we've had in any of our taste tests in North and South Jersey. Produces good fruit, crack resistant, high degree of yield on there, and the flavor is just out of this world. So if I'm going to grow an heirloom, this is one of the ones for a beginner gardener that I would highly recommend because it's easy to grow in most of our soil, different types of soils that we have throughout New Jersey, and even in containers in potting soil, you're going to see it's going to do very well as long as you have at least a 3 to 5 gallon bucket. Next slide. Brandywine is a favorite across the country. You know, this came out of our Amish heirlooms from the 1880s, and it's prized for its distinctive flavor. I love this tomato, and I always grow this tomato every year. There is some cracking involved, but it's worth growing it because of the distinctive flavor that it has. I like to see a great variety of flavors in my tomatoes, especially slicing tomatoes. So this is one that you might want to try. And the particular one that we've done research on that we found that is very consistent is the Sudeth strain of Brandywine tomatoes. But it takes about 80 days to grow it, so it's a longer season tomato. Next slide. Sun Gold is absolutely one of my favorites. If you're going to grow a small cherry tomato, Sun Gold that has that orangish to yellowish hue on it. This is a tomato developed in Great Britain. One of the best tasting tomatoes of any of the cherry tomatoes. It's just, it has good longevity. It has tremendous production, and it grows well in containers. You just have to make sure that you stake it so that you get adequate production and you keep it above ground so you've got good air circulation and you reduce disease problems. Next slide. Lady Bell, relatively easy to grow for anyone. And as we mentioned, even with tomatoes, you want to make sure that you have some kind of air movement in the area you're growing these plants so they can be adequately pollinated. And you can get a sweet bell pepper mix where you get all the colors, red to yellow to green to purples, depending on what varieties that you select. Next slide. And one of my absolute favorite peppers is going to be the yummy pepper. We grow this on our family farm, one of the most productive peppers that I have ever seen out there. In mid to late season, we walk out in the field and we see a sea of yellow peppers because this thing is so productive. But when you bite into this pepper, it's amazing. I mean, it just has so much flavor that it literally bursts with flavor in your mouth. It's a sweet pepper. It's not hot. And you produce about 3-inch fruit, but there are several different strains of the yummy pepper. And you can get peppers in as little as 44 to 50 days. You're going to see peppers appear. It's great for fresh and or for cooking. Small pepper, but a lot of them that it produces. So this is really a great pepper to grow in containers. Next slide. Jalapeno is a favorite of many. And we love jalapeno peppers. They're just the right heat. Some people can take the really hot peppers. I personally love the jalapenos because that's about the heat that I can stand. And my family loves them as well. So we put them in a lot of our dishes. You can eat them fresh, or you can pickle them, or you can cook them. And they add a lot of flavor to your different dishes that you're going to prepare. Next slide. Another option that you have is the pepper called Fooled You, which is a jalapeno lookalike. So it's the same size as the jalapeno, but it doesn't have the heat. So the capsaicin units are closer to the heat units. In other words, are closer to the common bell peppers. And the bell peppers are at a 0, whereas something like a jalapeno can be up to about 5 to 10,000 Scoville units. So this doesn't have heat. But it produces a lot of pepper. So for a container, the Fooled You pepper, in as little as 60 to 65 days, you're going to have a great tasting pepper and a lot of them to harvest to share with your family and friends. Next slide. Another one of our favorites is the padron pepper, because padrones can be cooked with a little bit of olive oil. These originated in Spain in terms of their origin and how they prepared them, and they used cheeses as a combination to serve with the peppers. And if you harvest these peppers early, they're not as hot. And so depending on the timing of the harvesting, you can actually get a much better pepper. Next slide. Shishito peppers are another example of the padrones that actually taste just like padrones when you cook them, but they're a lot more productive. So if you're looking for high productivity within that area of using pots, go ahead and try the shishitos, and they're a good alternative and very disease resistant. Next slide. Eggplants, one of my favorite is the millionaire eggplant. I was just eating that yesterday. My wife and I prepared that for dinner. One of the best tasting, nutty flavor, the best type of Japanese eggplant. mixed with a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of cheese, one of the best eggplants out there. And you can throw some peppers in there to actually give it a little boost in heat. Next slide. Cucurbits, I love cucurbits. You can even, with the first flush of flowers, you can actually eat the flowers, and they're wonderful in salads. So I recommend that, you know, you incorporate those into your diets. Cucurbits are easy to grow, probably one of the easiest vegetables that you can grow, especially squash. Next slide. So cucumbers, there are cucumbers that are adapted to small containers. And if you look on the seed container, it'll tell you what's adapted to a pot, you know, a 3 to 5 gallon pot. We do need pollinators depending on the type of cucumber that it is. Diva is one of my favorites, D-I-V-A, thin-skinned and low cucurbitation, so it attracts less insect problems. Next slide. Squash variety, squash is easy to grow. So if you're looking for something that is easy to grow, that you can, you know, produce food for your family and beyond. And then there's one variety called Born Free that has less spine, so it's a little bit easier to work with in your garden. And you want to harvest these in the early stages. Don't let them get too big, and you'll have a gourmet squash that you can grow in your garden with few problems. Next slide. I like the filet beans, especially the French filet beans, in as little as 55 to 56 days. You can have these wonderful beans. You want to make sure you harvest them early and keep harvesting them if you want a good yield. Extraordinary flavor. You do want to cook them for 5 to 10 minutes. Next slide. And one of our last things is mouse melons or Mexican sour gherkins, easy to grow. It has a very vigorous vine, and it will climb over a fence, so you can grow a lot of these in a small space as long as you give them room to grow. It can be used in cooking like a cucumber. They have a nice lemony type cucumber flavor. They're about as, you can see the size of them right here. And they're a wonderful addition to your salads. Next slide. Swiss chard is one of the easiest things to grow. So if you want to grow one vegetable, I would recommend Swiss chard. Easy to grow in containers and in your gardens. You can eat it raw or cooked, and has a wide range of beneficial nutrients that are excellent for anybody's diet. Next slide. So let's go to the next slide. You can go to the next one. So where to find these New Jersey fresh vegetables? Just go on to findjerseyfresh.com, and you can find pick your own operations throughout our area. And it'll tell you, you can actually put on there what type of vegetables you're searching for and how many miles within your region. And it'll give you great information about where to find those vegetables. And Jersey Fresh is the best. If you can buy vegetables the same day, harvest them, or if you want to go out and pick your own with your family, this is the website to go to. Next slide. And I just want to make you aware there's another site, New Jersey Farmers Direct Marketing Association, that you can go to. And that also gives you information about CSAs, or community supported agriculture, throughout our region. Next slide. And we have many programs called the Master Gardener Program is one of our premier foundation programs. So if you're interested in that, just contact us at mastergardeners@co.middlesex.nj.us. And there are programs throughout New Jersey. Next slide. And we have 4-H programs and other programs on Facebook. Next slide. And we invite you to join us this Thursday and every Thursday for Are You Ready to Garden, 6:30 p.m. And we'll give you more information and past shows that we've done. Join the club. We answer questions in real time, and you can learn about gardening from many different aspects. I'm going to stop there because my time is up, and I'm going to turn it back over to our group. We're going to talk about the New Brunswick Community Farmers Market with Lauren Erickson, and I hope you've learned something new and that you're excited about gardening. And I love the music here today, and Bruce's talk was great. So enjoy the rest of your day, and it was great having you today. So we're going to turn it over to Lauren Erickson.
Hi, I'm Lauren Erickson with Rutgers Cooperative Extension, and I'm here today at the New Brunswick Community Farmers Market. We're a project that started in 2009, and our purpose is to bring fresh fruits and vegetables from New Jersey farms to New Brunswick families. We first of all think of fresh fruit and vegetable availability and bringing the food into the city, but we also focus quite a bit on affordability of fresh fruits and vegetables. So we're proud to say that we accept SNAP benefits on EBT cards from our customers as payment. We also accept WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program vouchers and also Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program vouchers throughout our full market season. Thanks to the generosity of sponsors that include Johnson & Johnson and the Garden State Good Food Network, we're pleased to say that we also double the value of the food assistance benefits that customers can spend with us. While our farmers market brings fresh fruits and vegetables from New Jersey farms to local urban families, our community garden program gives local residents the opportunity to grow their own vegetables, small fruits, herbs, and cut flowers. Our Rutgers Cooperative Extension team members are always ready and willing to help community gardeners learn about what types of crops they can grow here in New Jersey and how to care for their plants. Overall, the community garden is a great opportunity for local residents and their families to spend some time together outdoors in the fresh air, getting some physical activity and moving around and being in a beautiful green space in the city, all while growing some fresh food. We received funding from the United States Department of Agriculture, and with this support, we were able to hire 3 New Brunswick area residents to be our market ambassadors. So you may have seen our market ambassadors last year at your local church or community organization or right here at the farmers market if you're already one of our customers. And our market ambassadors work together to collect over 800 surveys from the New Brunswick community. I'm proud to say that we're now in the phase of working with our local New Jersey farmers to bring the fresh fruits and vegetables that you want to have at the market here to New Brunswick. So we're going to take a tour of the farmers market and look at some of the fresh fruits and veggies that you told us you wanted to have. You spoke and we listened. They range from classic Jersey favorites such as sweet corn, peaches, and tomatoes to unique, culturally relevant varieties. So let's check out what we have for you today. I'm here today with Allison Akbai of Snapping Turtle Farm, which is based in Cranberry, New Jersey. And I'm very excited to work with Allison because she's one of our New Jersey farmers who is certified organic and who is also growing some very unique and culturally relevant fruits and vegetables that our customers have told us they're interested in finding at the farmers market. So Allison, thanks for being here today. I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit about the bitter melon and the okra crops that you're growing this year.
We kept hearing, particularly from the Indian community in New Jersey, that they wanted to see okra and bitter melon, which are 2 vegetables common in Indian cuisine and are not traditionally grown in New Jersey. But New Jersey actually, with our hot summers, is a perfect climate for growing okra. So I'm working with Dr. Yeme of Cook College to grow some of his okra that he is developing that are a cross between Indian varieties and American varieties of okra that are especially suited for the New Jersey climate. We're also growing bitter melon, which is a vegetable that's common in Indian cuisine, Filipino cuisine, Chinese cuisine, as well as in the islands of Trinidad and in Guyana. And this vegetable, while it's bitter, is often used as medicinally in Asian medicine, as well as added to soups, stews, and curry to make a healthful dish with a unique bitter bite that's very distinctive and missed by many people who move to New Jersey.
Allison, thank you so much. It's great to learn more about these diverse crops and have these unique things available at our farmers market. And we have a number of safety measures in place given the current COVID-19 pandemic. The farmers market is open and we're taking as many safety protocols as we can to ensure that our customers, staff, vendors, and volunteers all feel safe and are able to stay well. We're requiring face coverings be worn at the farmers market. And we have designated walking lanes for one-way traffic to come in with a hand washing station at the entrance to the market. We have our vendors safely socially distanced apart from one another. And we're also requiring that our customers maintain a minimum of 6-foot spacing between each other. So come on out and visit us when you can at a New Brunswick Community Farmers Market location near you.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Jerome Angrew, and I'm here at Rutgers Gardens. I'm with Bruce Crawford, who is the...
Okay, I'm Bruce Crawford. So I'm the program coordinator for public and private horticulture in New Jersey.
Awesome.
And we're actually enjoying, it's the hottest day of the year that we're sitting out here talking about plants, but
it is pretty hot.
it is pretty warm.
So what got you into gardening?
So I think like a lot of people, they tend to, it's what you grew up with. So my grandfather was a dairy farmer, but when I was not well behaving, I was sent out to weed the asparagus. And but then, you know, you sort of carry that with you. And both of my parents were avid gardeners. And so I always was fascinated just with sort of the beauty. And then sort of developed a little bit further. Originally, I wanted to become a medical doctor. And so I thought, you know, everyone wants to become a medical doctor,
when you're
right?
A kid, definitely.
And then all of a sudden you hit inorganic chemistry and that ends that dream. So then I thought, well, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And then I thought, well, you know what? I've gardened since I was 16 or 15. So might as well pursue that. So.
And you actually used to teach at Rutgers as well, right?
Yes, I still do.
Oh, awesome.
So I've been an instructor in the landscape architecture program since 1987, which makes me sort of prehistoric. But I enjoy it. I enjoy being around students. They're a lot of fun. And we're actually expanding the program a little bit this year to actually include public gardens.
Awesome.
We started public gardens minor.
Yeah, and so what are the class structures like, and what are some of the opportunities these students can get when they study something like this?
Well, so there's actually several opportunities. One is they learn, I think a lot of homeowners go to a garden center in May, they see rhododendrons and azaleas in bloom, and they go, oh, and they buy them and put them in their yard. And then suddenly their garden is very colorful in May and then doesn't have color throughout the rest of the year. So that was one of the things that I like to focus on, is that there are plants that bloom 12 months of the year. So let's figure out how to introduce the students to those plants so that they can then use them in their designs. They can preach them to the public. You know, to our right is a beautiful buckeye, which is got great white flowers blooming here at the end of July. And most people don't think that we can have shrubs.
And it'll be all summer?
It starts blooming at the end of June and continues through July into early August.
Okay. So I also garden at home, but just like you said, in early May and April, I definitely get overzealous and I want to plant right away. And then, you know, things die very soon. And I've learned all of my gardening through like trial and error. But sometimes I would discover something like morning glories, and then I would just go crazy with them. And then next thing you know, my entire yard is just, you know, vines everywhere. It's like entangling everything. So definitely things I learned over time to make it easier. So what are some of your favorite things to plant or advocate for people growing?
Well, one of the things that I started to touch on, trying to think of the years, was probably about the early 80s, were ornamental grasses. So a lot of people thought of ornamental grasses as either turf that you cut or as weeds, and they didn't really see the beauty in them. And so I've really been working with ornamental grasses to use them in different ways. And what a lot of people were doing was just taking a block of grasses, and I did this too when I started out. Just take a block of grass, you go, okay, it's like a tall ground cover. You put 30 of them in and you're done. And then suddenly you realize that it's more fun to actually recreate a prairie-like setting where you actually put flowering plants that come up through the grasses. Some of the grasses are very transparent, and then you start adding to that, well, let's add in shrubs now. And so shrubs will add a new layer, and then there's some really cool flowering trees that we don't think about. There's one called, and I don't even know the common name for it, but botanical name is Polyothersis. It's coming into flower right now. So now you have a 25 to 40 foot tall tree with white flowers in the end of July, early August. And everyone's like, wow, what's that? So, and a lot of the trees, even though they're not native to North America, pollinators still love them. And so, and that's the other thing that we're currently really stressing is, you know, put in plants native and also from Europe or Asia, wherever, that are pollinator friendly. And,
I think I definitely struggle with that too, is just figuring out a good combination of plants in one area that are going to help each other grow, and just, you know, what's native to here when I'm growing things. I also cook as well. So I grow a lot of herbs like cilantro, basil, parsley, tomatoes, and I pretty much have it for the entire season, so I don't have to buy any. What are your recommendations for people that want to plant vegetables and herbs, in their backyard or maybe in their house? They just have some indoor plants. What are your recommendations there?
So a lot of time it comes down to is how much light do you have and how much soil? Because if you have a lot of shade, obviously you're going to be very limited. But if you have a half a day of sunlight, you can grow leafy vegetables. So you can grow lettuce and spinach and so on and so forth. If you have 3/4 of a day of sunlight, you can do carrots and beets. You can do the root crops. And if you are lucky enough to have a full day of sun, you can do all of those plus tomatoes, eggplants, whatever you want. The key is to not overplant, because a lot of people again get really excited in May and go, oh wow, look at all these tomatoes, and I didn't realize that there are 100 different varieties of tomatoes that you can buy. So they buy 15. They only have room for 3.
And then you don't even need more than that.
And then all of a sudden they start crowding each other out, and then they planted zucchini too close to the tomatoes and it becomes a mess. So really is to strategize, how much room does each plant require, and then think accordingly. And you can change from year to year, because everyone thinks, oh, I have to do it all in one season. But next year is another year. So this year you might want to try these varieties. Next year, try something else. That's why gardeners live to be old, because we're always looking for that next great plant.
And that's what's so cool about gardening, is every year you get a new opportunity. I did start planting a lot of perennials. So what is your strategy for perennials that are going to come back every year?
So layering is one of the fun things you can do with perennials. I mentioned before ornamental grasses. So one of the things that just sort of, you get these every now and then, all of a sudden you get this brainstorm, like, why didn't I think of that years ago? Because everyone always likes to do plants that go from tall in the back to short in the front, which is the most static, boring thing you ever want to do. So you don't want to do that. But if you do some, like there's one grass called Karl Forster, named after a German horticulturist. And it's very upright, very columnar. And they all grow to about 4 feet tall. So if you do sort of, put them 5 feet apart, and then within the planting of the calamagrostis, you do a stage down of the perennials. Now you have one height that's consistent, but now you have layering of the other plants through it, and it gives a totally different look to the garden. And that's where you start to really play with the plants. Some of them are solid, so they're not transparent. The other ones, though, that you can see through, wow, you can have a lot of fun with.
And then if you figure out those plants that bloom all year, for the entire summer instead of just early May and June, then you have like a really nice garden to enjoy. The entire summer.
Last year we had Asclepias, one of the milkweeds or butterfly weeds, in the Donald B. Lacey garden, and you would be amazed at the hummingbirds that would come in. They weren't necessarily attracted to that one, but I remember the people were attracted to the Asclepias because the seed pods split open, and you get these like dandelion seeds coming out, and so it's just. And then they were there, and all of a sudden there were the hummingbirds coming as well to visit various plants. So
that's awesome.
It was.
So part of the classes, you take a lot of the students to public gardens. Can you tell us about that? And what are the benefits of public gardens? And how do the students feel about going on these little trips? Unfortunately, you might not be able to do that this year, but
we not.
For the future.
So I think a lot of people don't consider public gardens to be an avocation or a vocation. They've heard about them, but don't really think, ooh, there's a job opportunity there. And especially this year, what people have found is that they are extremely soothing. And so green is the color that actually lowers blood pressure. So when you're in an all green environment, you feel more at ease, more at peace. And then, people come here to walk the trails just to sort of get that sense of peace. So I always wanted to our interns, we take them down to Chanticleer, to Wave Hill, to Longwood Gardens, to show them some of the great gardens, but also how do they combine plants that make it interesting, so it changes each season, so that there's a need to go back to see it again. But also how do the textures work together and so forth. And it really brings an uncanny sense of both entertainment and calming to the
no, I love it. I love it. I love my backyard. I enjoy it every day. I try to, at least. So Rutgers Gardens is very beautiful. Is it open right now?
Yes, it is. So, and actually public gardens throughout the area have slowly been opening, and which is a good thing. We did actually, we were always open on Fridays for the farm market. So,
And in 2008, we started up a farm market at the gardens. My focus always was nutrition. I always thought somehow, how do you educate the population about proper diet?
Yeah.
And I still think that that's important.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, go towards potato chips or things that are high in carbohydrates, slow
And processed.
Yeah, exactly, all the processed food. So
Yeah.
when you go to a farm market and you get, either fresh vegetables or you get locally made breads or what have you, it's just great. And
I'm a huge advocate for growing your own food and being self-sufficient, but I don't think people understand how easy it is to grow tomatoes or herbs, and you don't have to overdo it. Just a few items that help you save money instead of buying it from a grocery store. Especially because in my experience of buying certain herbs and things is you buy it, if you don't use it all within a day or two, it's going to go bad. But when you have it in your garden, you just cut off exactly what you need and you're set. What are your thoughts on, well, I know your thoughts, you're an advocate for growing your own food, but what's your best advice for growing veggies and visiting these farmers markets and just overall growing your own food?
So I think one of the things that people, they know there are cool season crops. You have your lettuce and your spinach and so forth, and then obviously your warm season, but people forget about the fall. So they can actually, because lettuce is pretty much done around the second week of July, give or take. Spinach usually by the end of June. But you can reseed and replant that again in late August, early September, and it'll give you crops right through the fall, late fall.
Yeah.
And spinach that's grown in a cool environment is got a much different texture. So if you have children and they don't like spinach, but then you grow it in a cool season, it'll actually grow all winter long.
Yeah.
And when you grow it in the cool season, it's got a thicker texture and it's sweet.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, children will look at this and go, "Wow, this is not spinach. This is really good." So, so I think we tend to think about spring for cool season crops. We totally forget about the fall. So I think, and so when you buy seeds in the springtime, which we're always perusing all the seed catalogs in January, February, get extra seeds so that you can plant out for the fall. And even if you don't have, you say, "Well, gee, I don't have a piece of land that I can actually farm or till." But you can have containers. And so if you have a deck that's got some sun, you can grow a tomato in an 18-inch container, so 18-inch diameter, a perfectly good tomato plant, and it will do great. You can grow, and if you have old plastic containers, it doesn't have to be a pretty clay pot. You can use almost anything. The key is to buy potting soil from you don't want to use topsoil because it'll compress and you won't have a good product. But
and are you mixing that garden soil you're buying with the native soil in someone's backyard, or?
So if you're doing a container, you really want to stick to a soilless mix, which is mostly peat moss and perlite. But if you're growing in the backyard in the soil and your soil isn't the best, then you can add compost to it. So the organic matter that you add to the topsoil will actually improve the water holding ability of the soil and will actually improve the plant's ability to penetrate the soil.
Yeah.
One of the programs that the experiment station puts on is the Master Gardener program. And so each county has its own program, but the focus is, how do you teach homeowners, which is, basically the population that takes these classes, how do you teach them all the basics of plants, from botany to growing them to vegetable gardening and so on and so forth. And a lot of people don't realize, the value of soil. And in fact, 1980s, when I was in school, I don't think we really appreciated the value of soil. We didn't know that one pinch of soil, a gram, has over 1 billion organisms in it. So it's phenomenally alive and intricate. So just learning a little bit about the soil. Not too many people get passionate about soil, but I do. But it's cool. And so if you can sort of share that passion with other gardeners and homeowners, they start getting excited about it. Oh, this is what we need to do to really improve.
Yeah, I should look into that Master Gardener Club. I didn't know about that. So is there anywhere that Rutgers or the different towns, they rent out like plots of garden beds or anything for people to use to grow veggies?
So there are community vegetable gardens.
Yeah.
It varies by the county, and obviously if you look them up online, you can find them. They're usually a season long, so you need to commit to the garden in February, March, and then stay with it for the entire season. But I've been to several, and they have upwards of 80 families, and each get a small plot that they can garden throughout the year. It's social.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's one of the nice things about volunteering and doing these community gardens is that you get to talk to people and so forth. If you're looking for information, the New Jersey Ag Experiment Station, NJAES, has fact sheets online. So literally just Google NJAES and then whatever it is that you're looking for, container gardening, soil, houseplants, whatever have you. And the fact sheets will pop up, and tomatoes, whatever it is, and that'll give you sort of the basic information on how to grow those.
Gotcha. So I want to thank you for your time, Bruce.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any final words of wisdom for us?
In this year, where we're spending a lot of time at home, I think a lot of people are finding plants. And so it's my hope and desire that that newfound passion doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So just because, things will probably and hopefully change in the next year or so, but the plants that are around us, suddenly people are finding out that house plants are fantastic. I happen to know someone who, when she's stressed, she has this little jade plant next to her computer.
I think I know her too.
And she, the jade plant just brings her peace. So, but plants in general will bring us peace. So I hope this newfound love in horticulture becomes sort of the regiment for New Jersey in the years to come.
Yeah, I guess with everything going on, everyone's becoming a lot more self-sufficient. They're staying at home. They have to pick up new hobbies, and this would be an awesome one. Like you said, being surrounded by green, it's definitely peaceful. I love my backyard. I love gardening, and thank you for everything. And
thank you.
I hope to work with you in the future.
I hope so too.
Hey, welcome back. I'm here with Chef Carolina. We have a very special episode for you today. This is Family Meal.
Thank you, Jerome, for having me today. And here, I'm so excited to be here in Family Meal. Thank you, Hamza, for having me and making me feel so comfortable. Today, I'm going to do something very, very easy and very refreshing. What happens when you mix lemon and cilantro? It's just magic. It's so flavorful. So that's what we're going to do today.
I'm super excited about this corn salsa. Let's get to it.
For this recipe, we have corn, onions, jalapeno peppers, diced tomatoes, cilantro, lime juice, salt, pepper, and cumin, and a little bit of oil. Here we have the corn in a large bowl. First, we will be mixing in some fresh diced tomatoes. Next, we will add the jalapeno. Feel free to add as much as you would like.
She's actually allergic to jalapenos.
Yes, I am. But I was worried. I was thinking, it could be cilantro or jalapeno. I'd rather to be jalapeno.
Yeah, definitely. The people that are allergic to cilantro, sorry, buddies. Chef Carolina, I heard you do a lot of work in New Brunswick. Tell me about that.
Yes, I do. I work with sister work. I do with different food pantries. Working with the community, with the moms in the community, families.
Oh, cool. Tell me about the food pantries.
Well, we have different food pantries in New Brunswick, and they can get services, different kind of food for a month.
Do they give you common items, or what do you get in the box?
Yeah, you get different items. For example, pasta, peanut butter. You can get good cans and all of that. The most important thing is that they gave you a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of food to supply you for a few weeks. And it depends on what they have on the food pantries.
So it varies.
They try to make sure they give you whatever you need for a few weeks.
Gotcha. Can anyone go to these pantries?
Absolutely. Everybody can go. And now
we will add our diced onions. Next, we'll add our blend of spices, cumin, salt, and black pepper.
It's such a vibrant dish that you're making. It looks
Should we
great.
throw it all?
I'm all for the spices.
Right? Let's do it then. Yes. Let's go for it. Just in case.
Give it a quick mix and throw in the oil. Now add the cilantro.
Ooh-wee.
And finally, we'll squeeze in some fresh lime juice before giving it the final mix.
Let me ask Hansa a question. What are we going to make if I do this? Magic. So we're making magic right here with the lime and the cilantro.
This is gonna go perfect with the chickpeas,
Right?
or chips, or whatever you want. Right? This is just like a quick thing you can put together.
You can use it with chips. You can use it with roti.
Yeah.
Right? You can make it like we're going to make it today with rice. We can just mix it in different ways, especially now that we're at home and we don't know what else to cook, right?
Yeah.
People that's like all the time like, what am I
Yeah, and
gonna
it's
cook?
healthy. It's
Yeah.
refreshing. It's fast. It's perfect. Together,
Yeah.
because we're all in this together.
Yes, we are.
It's perfect. It's good stuff. It's just good stuff.
Magic. I took my allergy pill. That's why I'm eating jalapenos.
Yeah, just for this.
Because this is family meal.
There you go. For family meal.
What are you making?
I'm gonna be making chickpeas. So
We can combine it.
yeah, we can.
Can we plate it?
We can make a nice rice bowl.
Nice. Let's do it then.
For this recipe, you will need chickpeas, onions, water, green seasoning, a blend of spices, turmeric, chili, salt, and cumin, oil, tomatoes, and fresh spinach. You ready, Hanzo? That was hot. I'm gonna put my oil in.
So exciting.
Let's start with the onions that I minced in the food processor. If you don't have one, just do it by hand. It'll be fine. After you saute your onions quickly, add in your minced tomatoes. All right, so I'm gonna let this cook for a little bit, let it cook down, get those flavors out, get a little bit brown. And then after that, we're gonna throw in spices and water. And this is a really quick dish. It's vegan, but it doesn't just packed with flavor because of what we're gonna add. And it's just delicious.
It's a good thing because a lot of people is looking for vegan options.
All right, time to add in your green seasoning. And if you don't have that, just use minced garlic. But this is basically just fresh garlic, cilantro, and peppers all blended together.
That smells so nice. Mm-mm.
Yeah, this dish is good.
Yeah.
Next, let's throw in your spices. So this is a blend that I bought. It's actually a hot curry powder. It has items that you probably use at your house all the time. There's cumin, turmeric, chili powder, salt, a couple of spices that blend into this curry powder. So use the spices you like, whatever flavor you're looking for, go for that. All right, so you see that? It's got some nice color now. Add some water in. You're gonna bring this to a boil, and when it's boiling, we're gonna lower the heat, throw our chickpeas in, and let it simmer.
I wish you guys can smell it. It smells so good.
Yeah, it does smell good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add the chickpeas now.
You know, it's amazing how food can connect you, even though this is a different kind of food from where I come from. But I see the similarities on the way my grandmother used to cook.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Food's definitely universal.
Yes, absolutely.
Lastly, you're gonna throw your fresh spinach in there. This is about 4 cups. It's gonna cook very quickly.
after this, your dish is done. This is a beautiful vegan dish that's super quick to make. It's flavorful. Everyone will love it.
Got it? There you go.
See you next time.
Family meal.
Hola, bienvenidos. Hoy tenemos un episodio muy especial. Estoy aquí con la chef Carolina y esto es Family Meal.
Gracias, Jerome. Gracias, Hamza, por hacerme sentir tan cómoda hoy en Family Meal. Hacerme sentir tan cómoda. Hoy voy a hacer una receta muy fresca y muy fácil de hacer. ¿Qué es lo que pasa cuando tú mezclas limón y cilantro? Magia. Eso es lo que pasa. Magia.
Estoy muy emocionada de preparar esta salsa. Comencemos.
Para esta receta tenemos elote, cebolla picada, jalapeños, tomates picados, cilantro, jugo de limón, sal, pimienta negra, comino y aceite. So aquí tenemos el elote. Le vamos a agregar el tomate picado. Vamos a mezclarlo un poquito. Luego vamos a agregar los jalapeños picados.
Ustedes saben una cosa, ella tiene alergia a los jalapeños.
Sí, es verdad, yo tengo alergia a los jalapeños. Cuando yo estaba haciendo el test, era cilantro o jalapeño. Yo prefiero tener alergia al jalapeño en vez de tener alergia al cilantro.
Sí, la verdad que sí. Los que tienen alergia al cilantro, lo siento, amigos. Chef Carolina, yo he escuchado que haces mucho trabajo en New Brunswick.
Exactamente, eso hago. Trabajo con Sisterware, trabajo con diferentes bancos de comida, trabajo con las mamás en la comunidad, con las familias en la comunidad.
Oh, qué bueno. Cuéntame más sobre los bancos de comida.
Tenemos diferentes tipos de despensas de comida en New Brunswick. Puedes obtener diferentes tipos de comida y lo más importante es que te dan comida suficiente para 2 semanas o para un mes, dependiendo de la dispensa de comida que tú vayas.
¿Hay diferentes tipos de comida? ¿Qué puedes obtener en acá?
Tú obtienes diferentes cosas. Por ejemplo, puedes tener pasta, crema de cacahuate o crema de maní, cosas comida en lata, diferentes tipos de comida que te puede servir para tú poder hacer tus propias recetas. Y lo más importante es que te dan una cantidad grande para que tú puedas mantener a tu familia comiendo bien por un par de semanas. Y realmente depende lo que vas a recibir en lo que tienen en las despensas de comida, qué es lo que te van a entregar, de acuerdo a lo que ellos tienen disponible en ese banco de comida o en esa despensa de comida.
¿Cualquier persona puede ir a las despensas de comida?
Todos son bienvenidos. Y ahora vamos a agregar la cebolla picada. Vamos a agregar el comino, solo un poquito. Déjame mezclarlo porque es mucho más fácil así. Vamos a agregar la sal, la pimienta y el comino.
Se ve muy delicioso lo que estás preparando.
¿Piensas que debemos poner todas las especias en la salsa?
Sí, a mí me gusta poner todos los sabores.
Entonces hagámoslo. Pongamos todos los sazones. Nos vamos a asegurar de ponerlo todo. Solo por si acaso. Solo volvemos a mezclar y vamos a agregar el aceite.
Sea muy bien.
Ahora vamos a agregar el cilantro.
Oh, wow.
Tenemos el cilantro aquí y vamos a agregar el jugo de limón. Déjame preguntarle algo a Hansa. ¿Qué es lo que vamos a hacer si agrego el jugo de limón?
Magia.
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 Estamos creando magia aquí, agregando el jugo de limón con el cilantro.
Esto va a estar perfecto con el garbanzo o con chips o con lo que tú quieras, Julio.
Sí, de verdad, lo puedes comer con chips, lo puedes comer con roti, también lo puedes cocinar o lo puedes comer con arroz, como lo vamos a hacer el día de hoy. De verdad lo podemos mezclar de diferentes maneras, especialmente ahora que estamos en la casa y no sabemos qué más cocinar, ¿cierto?
Sí. Probémoslo.
Sí, probémoslo.
Porque estamos en esto juntos.
Sí, estamos en esto juntos.
Es perfecto. Muy buena comida. Magia.
Yo tomé mi pastilla de la alergia, por eso estoy comiendo jalapeños.
Sí, solo para esto.
Sí, porque esto es Family Meal.
Para Family Meal.
¿Qué es lo que tú vas a cocinar?
Yo voy a estar haciendo garbanzos.
¿Solo podemos combinar?
Sí, sí podemos.
¿Lo podemos combinar?
Sí, sí podemos. Para esta receta utilizaremos garbanzos, cebolla, tomate, espinacas, agua, aceite, salsa verde de ajo, turmeric, chile, sal y cominos. ¿Estás listo, Hansa? Oh, eso estaba caliente. Vamos a agregar el aceite. Vamos a agregar las cebollas que puse en el procesador de alimentos. Si tú no tienes una, solo córtala con la mano. Después de que has cocinado tu cebolla, agrega tu tomate. Voy a dejar que cocine por un poquito de tiempo para que salgan los sabores hacia afuera. Que se dore un poquito y luego vamos a agregar las especies. Este es un plato muy rápido y es vegano. Tiene muchísimo sabor y es delicioso.
Sí, porque mucha gente siempre está buscando opciones veganas.
Ok, es tiempo de agregar el sazonador verde. Es hora de agregar la salsa verde, que es una mezcla de ajo, cilantro y pimientos.
Eso huele delicioso.
Sí, este plato es delicioso. Ahora vamos a agregar nuestras especies. Y esta es una mezcla de comino, turmeric, sal. Es muy similar a la mezcla de polvo de curry. Puedes utilizar las especies que tú tengas en casa. Tú puedes ver que tiene un lindo color ahora. Agrega un poco de agua. Vas a hacer lo que hierva. Y cuando esté hirviendo, agregas los garbanzos. Y lo dejas que se cocine un poco.
Oh, me gustaría que ustedes puedan estar aquí para sentir el olor. Huele delicioso.
Sí, huele delicioso.
Es increíble cómo la comida te puede conectar. Los sabores pueden conectarte. Es diferente de la comida en la que yo crecí, pero yo encuentro que hay muchas cosas similares cuando cocinamos juntos. Realmente me recuerda mucho a la manera que mi abuela solía cocinar.
Sí, la comida definitivamente es universal. Por último vas a agregar tu espinaca. Esto es más o menos 4 tazas y va a cocinarse muy rápido. Después de esto, tu plato está terminado. Este es un plato vegano muy rico, muy fácil de hacer y muy sabroso.
Hi everyone, my name is Sara Ferreira and I'm with the New Brunswick Cultural Center. I hope that you all enjoyed the video that we all watched, the Middlesex County Foodways Project. I would like to introduce you all to a very special group of people. Hi everyone, my name is Sara Ferreira and I'm with the New Brunswick Cultural Center. I hope that you all enjoyed the video that we all watched, the Middlesex County Foodways Project. I would like to introduce you all to a very special group of people who helped with the creation of this video, and they're going to introduce themselves.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Jerome. I'm super honored to be part of this project. I am one of the chefs in the video, and I hope you enjoy the chickpeas. I hope you get a lot of use out of it, and I'm going to pass it along to Hamza.
Hi guys, my name is Hamza Masood. I am the man behind the camera who got the opportunity to put this tutorial together. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of food involved, and Jerome and Carolina were a pleasure to work with, and I really hope you liked the video.
Hi everybody, my name is Chef Carolina Morari, and I'm one of the chefs on the video. It was very, very nice to be able to explore new food and mix it up together with Jerome and working with Hamza. So I'm glad that you enjoyed the video, and we look forward to, talk about this in this interview.
Yes, thank you everyone. So I am going to start off by describing this project to all of you and what the significance of this video tutorial is, because it's actually part of a larger project. And then I'm going to have all of the chefs and artists talk about the work that they do with food and any special projects that they're involved in and how they got to know each other. So the Middlesex County Foodways Projects is part of a larger series of folk life projects involving foodways that have in the past involved folk life interviews. And since the pandemic started, we decided that we wanted to do a project which involved food tutorials. And we were actually inspired by Jerome and Hamza's, some of their projects that they were doing that they'll talk about later. But what's special about this Foodways project is that it's involved with a physical component of all of the recipes that are involved in this project have actually been printed out on recipe cards. And then all of the ingredients that are involved in making all the recipes we're creating bags with ingredients that are then going to be sent to McFoods in East Brunswick and will be distributed to various different food pantries throughout the county. So there is a component of like education, but then also we really wanted to talk about this issue of food insecurity and see how we could. Now, of course, our project is not going to solve the issue of food insecurity, but I think it's like a test project, and this project is this is the first time that we've done this video, and we're currently working on the next video. So I think it's going to be a very interesting process, and I'm interested to see where it goes from here and how it grows. Especially because this is part of a larger project. This is not the first time that we work doing interviews about food. So I was actually interested if Jerome and Hamza, if you would talk about your video tutorials and how you started doing video tutorials, and also how the two of you met, I think, as well.
All right, I'll start off. I have a lot of restaurant experience. I've been in the restaurant business for about 12 years now. And one day, Hamza walked into Malaga Indian Grill, and he just out of the blue said he could make a video for us of this cool dish we have called tikka melt. So I didn't really pay any attention to it, and because I've worked with videographers in the past, and Hamza came. He was very professional. He made a killer video, so we hired him at the restaurant, and we just built a small relationship then. And then we reconnected during the pandemic as we just had the idea to start like a concept where we were showing like cooking tutorials and making it super simple and just good quality. And I called him for advice on how to record it, and he actually volunteered to help me out. And then we, like 2 weeks later, like prime time COVID, we were shooting these videos. So Hamza could elaborate on that.
Yeah, so that's how we pretty much met. As he said, I walked into Malaga, and at that time I was looking to get more into food work. And when they played it out, the tikka melt, I just thought, like, I need to make a video of this. And from then on out, me and Jerome just had a good working relationship. And he had told me about making a food tutorial. So went out there and we filmed that project. And there on out, the idea of just creating more food tutorials just seemed fun, because it was a way for me to apply more artistic vision to food. And Jerome was always down to try any of the ideas that I had. And we just had a really good symbiotic relationship when it came to making videos. I would leverage his strengths with knowing how to cook. And then he would trust my eye with making videos. And here we are.
Yeah, it feels like such a long time ago as well. Like, you guys have created so much content in the last few months, and it's been really exciting seeing what you guys have created. Yeah. And Carolina, I just wanted to kind of shift things over to you and ask you, how did you get involved? Because I have my reasons. So when we came up with this project, right, as soon as we thought about doing these video tutorials, I was like, Jerome and Hamza, they need to be involved. And then I was like, Carolina and Morality needs to be the chef that they're also working with. So if you could just explain to us kind of like the work that you have done, like as a result of the pandemic, and then also your food tutorials and what you've been doing.
Well, thank you for having me one more time. And thank you for always considering me to, do things like this. So much fun. Well, I'm a chef, probably like 16 years already. I started in Peru, and then I decided to bring all those recipes and history from my family restaurant to here to try to bring the ingredients. So it's been like a very nice and crazy journey to try to bring all my equipment from my family restaurant to here, which I do have. I have all my stones and, all of that, which is part of who I am, right? So been working, my job in the community of New Brunswick started about 4 years ago when I started teaching a class in the community at Promise Culinary School. That's how I got connected with a lot of people in the community, with the women in the community, with the immigrant community, and Mexican and Latino community, and I started connected. So one thing led to another, and I ended up working for the community as an activist, as a community organizer, and that pushed me to be more closer to the people and then meet more and more people, and that's how I met you, and we started Sister Work. It's been 4 amazing years working for the community and the community, and about 6 months ago, I was fortunate enough to be able to move inside New Brunswick. So my commute was shorter. And that also made me realize that there is more things to be done. When the pandemic hit, I got a lot of requests of people looking for food, looking for diapers, looking for resources. In a conversation with Co-op Arts, we decided to start a diaper and food drive. That's what we did. And then I partnered up with Sisterware, which is the organization you and I and the other 2 co-founders, we part of Sisterware. And we've been running the diaper and food drive since then. Initially was only to help 4 families on our Sisterware team, and we ended up going over 60. Claudia Benitez joined us in the middle of that, and me and her, we've been working hard every day, and then we have a lot of people join in. The Bansil family, who's bringing, stuff every Saturday. So pretty much every other day we're doing deliveries, and we were very blessed that we were able to have so many donations And with that said, those boxes of food that gave me the inspiration to create Cooking Outside the Box, which is another stuff that we're doing in the community, cooking with those boxes, cooking with the boxes and the ingredients that we get on those pantry boxes. That's a little bit of what has been going on since the pandemic hit.
Yeah, and you make a great point, because pretty much the point of these videos is that people can make really good food, right? And inspiring people with the food that they're getting in the food tutorial courses. Carolina, do you want to give an example of some of the foods that you've been making, either well, in the collab events or in any other tutorials? Because I know that you've been busy.
Yeah, we go live every Monday at 12 o'clock, and we feature a pantry box every week, a different one. We've been working very close with Ebenezer. And then we also got vegetable boxes from Rutgers Gardens. So we were able to get those ingredients, and we created tacos. We did Peruvian food. We did Asian stuff. So we were like, saying, I was reading a message in there. So we were like, being able to do a lot of different stuff and cooking different stuff. We even did tamales one day. So we were working with all those different ingredients. We've been working with vegetables. We did juices. We did ice creams. We did ice pops. So there is a lot of potential on those boxes. We need to learn and how to taking the most advantage of all the ingredients, and that's what we've been doing. It's surprising that how you can play with those ingredients, even if it's a can or a fresh vegetable. We learn how to fusion that and make it work.
So that makes me think, I wanted to know, Jerome and Carolina. Jerome, you can go first. What inspired you to pick the recipe that you chose? I know that I kind of was like, we want you to do this, but is there a significance to the recipe that you chose? And because this is also a folk life project, right? And it has a lot to do with tradition, or not just about family tradition, right? But there are ways that we learn things, and they're based in tradition, right? And we all do things like in a very like systematic manner, right? Like we learn things from other people. I think cooking is one of those things that we can learn it from YouTube. We can learn it, like that's very popular right now. But I also think that cooking is something that is so beautiful in the way that it's learned. And so I was just interested if there was a special significance to the way that you learned your recipes.
Yeah, so I mean, we chose chickpea and kale chickpea and spinach for a number of reasons. I grew up eating chickpeas. We call it chana. My family's from Trinidad. I was born there, and they just grew up cooking chickpeas like every week in my house. So it's something delicious that we've always eaten. To go along with the food project that you're doing, that's why we thought it was so awesome that we just wanted to make food tutorials to teach people how to cook these delicious meals at home. And then when you approached us that these food banks were available to everyone as a resource, and it came with things like chickpeas and fresh produce sometimes, we just thought it was an awesome thing that we would love to be part of and advocate for. So these are resources that we didn't know about. We didn't know that we can go to these food banks and get food in. The pandemic wasn't easy for anyone. So, making these resources known was awesome. But yeah, I just learned to cook from my parents and just trial and error. And actually Hamza, he's the man behind the camera, but as we're doing these shows, he's picked up a lot of the cooking techniques and he's cooking it for his family at home. And I think it's been going really well.
Carolina, do you want to add something about your recipe?
Yeah, my recipe, like I said, I've been working with the Mexican community for a long time already. So I get some of their flavors. I'm a big fanatic of lime and cilantro. And on the box, I brought that day to do the interview, to do the recipe. It was like, we did get chickpeas and we did get corn that day. So it only makes sense to use the stuff that we get on that box that day, and we were able to make the magic.
So that's like the key, the magic with the cilantro and this lime. It's really, every time that I also I didn't know that when you roll the lime, it like makes it like easier to get the juice from it. And I like got that from you, Carolina, from like watching you cook. Yeah. So Hamza, I had a question for you about like how you got into doing cooking tutorials. If your videos with Jerome were your first times, and if you have any advice for anybody who's interested in doing tutorials, like food tutorials.
Yeah, so the creamy tomato pasta, the very first video that Jerome made, was the first food tutorial video that we had made. And there were a lot of things we did learn from it. In terms of filming, I think, well, one thing's for certain, have everything ready to go. And another thing is to kind of just naturally go through your cooking process. I found with Jerome too, and he can attest to it, where if we just kind of roll with it and not get too caught up on what's going to be said, or if things mess up, things come off more natural. And that's a big thing about videos too, is you just want to come off natural. And another thing is to pay attention to where you're shooting. Like we would do mise en place all the time, and I had this nice little board that I would place stuff on. And every single time we did a video, we would always talk about, okay, what can we do differently this time, that time around, just more as a trial and error from a creative standpoint. But the best thing you could really do is just hit record and go. And if you can somehow get a top-down view with your cell phone, because we did do that for the first one, we used a cell phone, and I had a stand that I put up to record down. So people have, say, near their vent, if they're okay with taping their cell phone, or just getting some type of top-down angle, that always makes cooking videos look really enticing.
That's so exciting. I want to thank you all for doing this video with me. Just one last question. Do you guys have any upcoming videos or projects that you wanted us to, talk about or pitch to our audience? I know, Carolina, you're super busy. So Carolina was actually the last. So Sister Work is a family mentorship program based out of New Brunswick. And for our since the pandemic, Sister Work started doing a series of videos called Wellness Wednesdays, and where we work with different wellness instructors, but also Carolina last week was our Wellness Wednesday facilitator. Do you have anything that you guys want to talk about, like, just before the end?
Well, like I said, thank you for having me today. We have Cooking Outside the Box every Monday at 12 o'clock. We have the videos of Wellness Wednesdays. We have different kind of videos. The video that I did for Sister Work was 1 to 3 easy snacks for the kids. During summer, we still have our COVID-19 food drive and diaper drive. And we also have Birthday Outside the Box, which is a project that I created together with Chef Garima and Chef Chrissy, where we go to kids' houses and surprise them with a birthday cake and a box full of the stuff that they need to have a little birthday party. So many kids during the pandemic didn't have the chance to celebrate, but that's what we do. We bring the stuff for the kids. And that's priceless. We were able to surprise a lot of the Sister Work kids during the pandemic, and we're still doing the same, surprising the kids in the community. So if you know somebody who you would like to surprise, let us know, and we will be more than happy to make it happen. More magic.
On our end, I know Jerome and I are working on a project next week, actually, in continuation of these food video tutorials. In Edison, we'll be going to the Automat, and we'll be working with Maham, who is Palestinian, and she seems to be very interesting, and she has a whole history with cooking and a recipe book passed down from her mom. And I think it's gonna be really cool to integrate some of her cultural aspects into the video. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, just to go off of that, I think what we're really interested in is, as we're highlighting these different recipes and showing people, how easy it is to cook, and highlighting other cultures, we just hope we can work with other chefs to, just expand what we're doing and just give everyone the spotlight. And obviously we want to grow Family Meal, and we think collaborating with people just like Sister Work and Arts in New Brunswick can really, expedite that. So we are very thankful that you guys gave us this opportunity to be part of this.
Of course. Thank you so much, everyone, for saying yes and for joining us. You can see all the videos at middlesexcounty.gov. And yes, and if you have any questions, you can just shoot us a message on Instagram at Arts New Brunswick, and we can also lead you to the video tutorials. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Liz. This is Chris, and together we are Baboons. A 1, 2, 3, and. Just the way you look at me, darling, so it seems there is a problem. You only show up in my dreams. I want you to know I think you're beautiful. Or is it just the way you say my name? Darling, so it seems there is a problem. You don't love me, and I know I should go. Yeah, I know you told me so. I want you to know I think you're dangerous. But hey, so am I, and I know I should go. Yeah, I know you told me so. I want you to know I think you're dangerous. But hey, it's what I like. That was called Darlin'. We are going to keep this moving. It's so nice to be here, by the way. Here as in my home. But to be able to put on music and to be a part of this awesome event. I can't wait to look back at it later on and like take down notes and put all that good information into use. This next one is called 3 out of 4. And here it is. 1, 2, 3, dyed my hair from blonde to black, 'cause self-control is what you like. Try to cover You left me at the bar. You knew I couldn't get too far on my own. Took my house keys, grabbed my hand. The rest I can't quite comprehend. Who knew two-lettered words could be so hard to listen to? But hey, well then there's you. Now, you know I said no means no. Who knew two-lettered words could be so hard to listen to? But hey, well then there's you. Now, you know it's enough. Trying hard to get on with my life. Don't worry, I won't tell you. You know I said no. Yeah. It really is so good to be able to play together. Up until like 2 days ago, Chris and I, we haven't played in a long time. Months, if you will. But again, it's so nice to be able to be together and to be performing with our community. Shout out to Sarah and Tracy and everyone involved. Caroline with Embrace DIY for putting this together. We really appreciate it. And with that, we're going to keep it moving. This next set of songs, you can find them on Spotify. The EP is called No, and We're Bad Blooms. So check out those songs if you'd like. And this one's called Windy City. 1, 2, 3. I am the calm and I am the storm. I am weak yet oh so strong, and you are spineless like the leaf who's lost its branch. We never stood a chance. Oh, ooh, I am the calm and I am the storm, and you are. I am weak yet oh so strong, and you are spineless like the leaf who's lost its branch. We never stood a chance. Ooh, as the windy city blows. I watch as I let you go. Oh, people come and people go. No one stays, no one stays, and that I know. Oh, ooh, I wish nothing but the best for you. Ooh, I wish nothing but the best for you. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to listen to our music and to listen to just all the great information that you got today. And if you missed what happened before us, you can definitely check out this link. And again, take down those notes. I've never been more excited to try to grow my own herbs before. So thank you for being so inspiring. We're keeping it moving. This next one's called Fallen. Kind of like my tuning that fell. Okay. That's okay. Here it is. Hand in hand, arm in arm, squeeze with all your might. Leave your mark and tell me that this will last more than just one night. Hand in hand, arm in arm, squeeze with all your might. Leave your mark, tell me that everything's gonna be alright. Ooh, 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 Baby, we can talk all night if you need to. Kiss you on the forehead, my heart bleeds too. Baby, we can talk all night if you please do. Kiss you on the forehead, my heart bleeds too. Darling, I know you're scared, but trust me, I've been there too. Darling, I know you're scared, but I need you to know I'm not going anywhere. I think that I'm falling for you. What's a girl to do with their heart out open, waiting for you? What's a girl to do with their heart out open, waiting for you? Think that I'm falling for you. quick little water break, quick little tuning break. We have about 2 more. We got time for that. Looks like we're good for time. Yeah. Cool. Hey, if you're out there, this song goes out to Ian and Heather, our good buds. We miss you guys. Sing along if you're at home. Anyway, this one's called Siren Song. 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I told you we could take it slow many moons ago. Now I'm dying to know, do I stay or do I go? Oh, do I stay or do I go? Am I more than just your siren song to help you get back up on your feet and watch you carry on? Am I more than just your siren song? Am I more than, am I more than, am I too much, or baby not enough? Searching for answers in words and numbers and everything else in between. You know what I mean, like a wolf howling at the moon. I swoon like a tree standing night and day. You say, am I more than just your siren song to help you get back up on your feet and watch you carry on? Am I more than just your siren song? Am I more than, am I more than, am I like ink and skin, you sink right in, so save me from the sin I'm in. Like ink and skin, you sink right in, so save me from the sin I'm in. Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy me, you got a hold on me. Mercy, mercy, mercy me. Oh, am I more than just your siren song to help you get back up on your feet and watch you carry on? Am I more than just your siren song? Am I more than, am I more than, am I? Am I, am I? Ooh, ba-da-ba-ba. Misguided phrases keep me up at night. Mistook intentions paint the darkest nights, and I count my blessings in Your disposition changed like seasons. Another summer lost, and I hear your determination in the distance, and it's just an afterthought. And I count my blessings in disguise. Yeah, I count my blessings in disguise. Softer than the cross you bear. Baby, baby, don't pull me out. Baby, don't pull me out. And I count my blessings in disguise. Yeah, I count my blessings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had teeth once. Now we bear gums. Blinded by the exit strategy. Blinded by the exit. We had teeth once. Now we bear gums. Blinded by the exit strategy. Blinded by the exit strategy. Thanks again for having us. Have a great rest of your day.
Well, thank you so very much for joining us today. They had blooms and power lines with good music. Catalina and Jerome, wow, that was some good looking food, and I'm really looking now to have dinner. So, but looking again to also to replicate that. So I think it'll be fun to, as I said before, I love to cook, so I think it'll be fun for me to sample that. Bill Lubick, thank you again for all that you given, shared, talking, conversation. Looking forward to working with you in the future. And Tracy and Sarah, thank you for putting this on, helping me through this all. First time we've done a virtual event, and I think it's been great. So thank you so very much. Look forward to seeing you in the future. Good night now.